This is our comparison episode of the best Porsche SUV. And here we have different versions here of the Cayenne and the Macan, featuring the Porsche Cayenne GTS versus the Macan GTS, then the Cayenne Turbo. And we also have the Porsche Cayenne Turbo GT here for you. That one here in the pre-facelift version, but with a special feature here on the racetrack. That was really a blast. Versus the Macan Turbo Electric, because the Turbo is now the electric one actually. And the Cayenne S, as well as the base Cayenne, versus the Macan S, versus the Macan T, the 4-cylinder. Plus a pre-facelift version of the base Porsche Macan 4-cylinder, also if you consider buying used. So we have all the Cayenne versions in there, we have all the Macan versions in there, combustion engine and electric. And which exact version should you go for, and which one of those is actually the best price performance deal? We're going to find out. Enjoy this Porsche content here together with us. Let's go. We start with one of Leah's favorite features today. Here, the vehicle key is available in the vehicle color.
Yay! Carmine red. Let's go.
And now it's my turn here with the full review of the Porsche Cayenne GTS, the new GTS updated version. We're going to tell you all about this 4-liter V8 German Autobahn part extensively for you. And what have they changed here with this facelift in 4K, full screen, full length? Let's go. First of all, basically the whole front wagon has been changed here with this update here for the Cayenne. And the GTS version is the strongest pure petrol engine for the European market. On the Northern American market, you will also have the Turbo GT above that, but soon more about the power figures. The front wagon has a more horizontal stress now here in this lower graphic, for example, and also updated headlamps. You can see here in like this 4-strip design, and this is also the HD matrix LED. It is standard for the GTS model, otherwise it's an option. Carmine red is the color, as Leah just said, and the GTS has special new features. For example, here these wider wheel arches painted in high gloss black, and 21-inch wheels would be standard. These here, however, 22-inch wheels, the biggest ones that are available, also optional with the carbon ceramic brakes. You can see it here with the yellow brake calipers, which meanwhile you can also get other brake caliper colors for, by the way, but this is like the standard color for that. The wheel design, by the way, has this old school retro 911 design. I think it fits very well to the vehicle. And red and black, they have always been the classic elements for the GTS, even though it's available in different colors. Yeah, that's kind of like the classic thing for that. SUV styling here, you know, there's still the Cayenne Coupe available. However, now they look more alike, because even in the SUV with the update, the number plate went to the lower part now. So this lower part now is more or less the same with Coupe and also with the SUV. And then here the black GTS badge, everything blacked out. Also this 3-dimensional Porsche right there. And now I also activated the rear lamps here. Look at that, there's a light strip going all the way through like this. So it has been a little bit more simplified, this design, I would call it that way. In the lower part, where you can see there's also the sports exhaust. And well, is this a job for the Autogefühl fake exhaust today? No, not at all. So if you, by the way, want to get your t-shirt, our online shop is online right now. If you haven't seen it so far, it's always integrated below the video and also linked in the video description or in the pinned comments. So get yours right now from the Autogefühl fake exhaust released, which has done a great job. That, yeah, these ones are definitely clear. Two different engines for the Cayenne, and both are available with or without plug-in hybrid, either a 3-liter V6 or here the 4-liter V8 bi-turbo. 500 horsepower now for the GTS, 40 horsepower plus with this update here. 4.4 seconds is the acceleration figure. That is 0.3 seconds quicker than the Cayenne S, which meanwhile also has the 4-liter V8. So once again, as I said, in the EU, the strongest pure petrol engine. Turbo GT would be above that than in the Northern American market. Quicker would be just the electrified turbo then. Well, and there's even more features here for the GTS, and they even took some of the features from the Turbo GT. For example, the negative camber or for the front wheels, so it's even sportier, more direct in the driving, and it gets centered, the adaptive air suspension. Optionally, you can also get a rear axle steering up to 3 degrees. It turns in from the rear wheels in the opposite direction than the front wheels, making the car more agile at lower speeds, better U-turn and so on. And optionally, also equipped with this vehicle, you can also get the PDCC. That's a Porsche Dynamic Chassis Control, and that is an anti-tilt control that it stays even more upright. This vehicle here is equipped with soft close, ta-da, but also the door closing sound. It's pretty nice. More high frequency in the front, a little bit more low frequency in the rear. I like it even more in the rear, actually, about that. Then inside of the doors, GTS version, here with some microfiber use already here. Pretty stiff, however, not really soft, but really stretched tightly. Red contour stitches, also some covering at the inside of the lower doors, for example. GTS entry badge, and even more red contour stitches together with the Racetex steering wheel, my favorite steering wheel, good grip for that one. Then the seats, also with microfiber Racetex, however with a new pattern. So it's not just plain microfiber, it has a special pattern, and then there's the microfiber on top of this pattern. So that looks really interesting for sure. But how is it in comfort? I would say the main difference is that when it's completely microfiber, like here or at the inside of the doors, it is a little bit stickier, and here you slide a little bit more on that. We have to see also long-term comfort, how it plays out. Then 189, 6'2", some headroom left here. So overall good, comfortable seating position. There's no completely animal-free choice yet for the Cayenne, but this is more or less the one that comes closer to us, together with the Pepita option in this special sports package. Electric seat control here, back part, also here, up and down, front part, and so on. And I always like this platform of the Touareg Cayenne Q7, Q8 here, because it has this kind of like this flat entry, you know, from this area to the door sill, that makes a kind of like a special atmosphere in the vehicle. Cockpit overview with screens, 12.3, 12.6, 10.9. Yeah, this is an option in the passenger screen. You can only see it when you look directly, you know, like this. From the sides, it's not visible as a safety precaution for the driver. I'm still not convinced of the use of the passenger screens. However, I have to say, then the horizontal stress here with red contour stitches. Sports chrono package is even an option for the GTS. And then here have the analog chronometer. That looks always pretty fancy. And I also like this brushed dark aluminum style here as the decor element. Then we have the panic handles when we drive a little bit quicker, for example. For Lear, yes. Then the middle console, a lot of high gloss black, and this does collect a lot of scratches. You can already see it right here. This is a brand new car, but it already has scratches. And then this one here, a little bit loose. I would feel, why isn't this just a fixed lever like here to slide it open? Then 2 USB-C chargers. The inductive charging pad is now also cooled, actually. And this is, of course, here my very favorite feature when you have the clicking sounds for the climate unit, strength, and also the temperature. I like that. Just the seat heating is in this capacitive BS style. Then adaptive cup holders, 12-volt power supply cover, also once again with this plastic galvanized metal knurling around. That's pretty cool. And then this armrest, you can slide it open, some more space underneath. The only thing is here, once again, in the US version, it's fixed that it cannot slide forward. I'm not sure why they don't do that for the EU versions. Is that also cost saving? Is it cheaper to produce in that way? Because here, I mean, now I have to intentionally do that, yes. And it's also better fixed than in some of the vehicles we had before. But now imagine you have 2 elbows here, driver and co-driver or passenger side. And then you are on the brakes, rest your elbows both here. And while you're on the brakes, it goes like this. Happened to us before in the test drive. And then no problem if you have some water bottles here or something. But then imagine you have like a paper coffee cup here or something. It's full.
Matcha latte?
Or matcha latte for Leah, of course. And then both elbows here, and then it goes like this. Yeah, and then I think you'll have some work to fix this spilled coffee here, this crushed coffee, crushed iced coffee then probably all over the place. So yeah, I think they should just put the US version fix for that one. Yeah. But no problem for our viewers in the US for sure. Then here, the steering wheel, once again, great grip, and also Nice shifting pedals here with a good feedback sound. I really like this more classic user interface here. From the driver POV here, you change the drive modes, and also nice that you can change the volume here at the steering wheel with your left thumb. It's always also interesting, right? I say left thumb and then I use my right index finger because I'm holding the camera with the left thumb. And then here you can change through the different settings in the infotainment system. You can change the middle view. I like this with the big red RPM meter. The right side you can also change, and you can even change what you want to see in the head-up display, because here you can also have this view that you have an RPM meter in the head-up display actually. Infotainment system with this new main menu. If you want to change where the vents are coming from, by the way, that you have to do inside the infotainment system. The other stuff like strength and temperature is also possible from below. Always nice to check out these car settings here. You can also manually activate the exhaust note, for example, but if you activate the sport mode, you can see it comes on automatically. But overall, I'm quite happy with the infotainment system. And Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, also with a wired connection or wireless, both is possible and good integration. And we're also happy with the Bose sound system. Rich in bass, I have to say, so I wouldn't put the bass up in the equalizer, just leave it as it is. Oh, she likes the bass, yeah. Rear seats, first of all the rear doors, here also with the GTS microfiber covering. It's also beautiful here with the this dark brushed aluminum style. Inside here is also covered from the inside, and then we can actually move the rear bench for more trunk space or more legroom here in a 2/3, 1/3 split. Yeah, most of the time, of course, when you have rear passengers, you need to leave them back anyway, and here to the seat as I would be driving. Some legroom left, no problem. Huge middle tunnel here, however, so of course all-wheel drive, always with a rear wheel bias, and you also have a separate climate unit here, still with the real deal, with real metal knurled controls like that. Capacitive BS controls, however, then here for the seat heating in the rear. And then when we check the headroom with 1A9, 6'2", still some headroom left. This is where the Cayenne Coupe has some more drawbacks because it has a little bit less headroom than here in the rear. This then once again good view to the wide extensive panoramic glass roof, and from here let me also show you how we open that one, because it actually opens pretty wide. Yeah, the rear passengers most of the time have even more advantages to see that actually. Only when it's open, then it's maybe a little bit more for the front and so on, but definitely pretty cool. Then here we can fold down this here. Cup holders are not adaptive though. And then the ski hash, you can also do it like from here. You have the same new pattern also on the seats. So this is where you have this structure on the side, and they are on the top then with microfiber. So yeah, very interesting new structure, and ISOFIX here. These clips are to be removed, however, then yeah, you always have to ask yourself where you actually store them to put them in place later again, or you leave them out for a longer period of time or something like that. You can also change the inclination of the seat like this, more upright or then more back. So the rear seating comfort here is really good. Trunk or boot check. Of course, if you have the SUV, you're a little bit more flexible here in this height in comparison to the coupe, but it doesn't make the biggest difference. Then here the manual rail. I see here it kind of scratches against this part here always. Then the normal length is about 1 meter or 40 inches, and the width is a little bit more than 1 meter or 40 inches. Here you can lift this mat. You don't have to have it, of course. Then you can put this whole thing up. There's also space for a replacement tire underneath. This then here the subwoofer, Bose subwoofer. And if you have the air suspension, you can also put the car here a little bit lower with the air suspension. You can even see it on camera here now as it goes lower. And you can also here put out the towing hook. That's an interesting mechanism. We haven't seen it in that way yet, sideways. Interesting, isn't it? And you can also, of course, once again, store it back in place. There you go. But then here to fold the seats, I mean, there's also a ski hitch available. That one you can also easily reach from here and do it like this. However, then to fold the seats, you have to go around and then do it from the rear compartment like this, and you can also fix them in place here. This is, by the way, this trunk splitter. You can also move a little bit like this forward and backward. In total length here, by the way, 1.85 m, or now Leah has to help me with the inches.
72.
72, thank you. Sport Plus. That was 50 to 140. Yeah, because that 911 Turbo S here in the front blocked our way. Incredible. But maybe he's up for a race. What do you think? Yeah, I mean, this 4-liter V8 bi-turbo here has a very nice sound indeed, and this has become very rare. Yeah, of course, that's always for the inside, and when you're maybe like driving freely. When you're in your garden, you know, and trying to relax, and this one is passing outside, maybe you don't find it that funny. But definitely this is something here that still pays off as for the sound. We had their discussion recently with the 911 GTS hybrid, and that was like, yeah, honestly, rather sounded like a lawnmower or something. But this one here still has a real sonorous low frequency sound. And even if you're just slightly on the throttle, oh, did you hear that? Like when you're sliding on the throttle and then suddenly release, plop, 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 plop. So this is still happening, you know, then when you let go of the throttle, that you have these plops and crackles from the exhaust then in the rear. And you also have this sport response button here. That was some 100 to 170. So you see, even in that acceleration area, of course, this 4-liter V8 is doing a great job. And here with this sport response button, you get even a little bit more boost for what was like 20 seconds. Yeah, but if you're in the Sport Plus mode already, then it's already going a gear lower and so on. So then it's already ready to attack, and yeah, you don't feel any turbo lag or something like that. At the same time, these seats here are holding you tight. They are quite firm indeed, as you might also expect from a Porsche. And I mean, we are in an SUV here, and when you go left, right, it doesn't shake up at all. So we have different technologies here. First of all, the air suspension in the sports mode, Sport and Sport Plus, goes a little bit stiffer. So when we're doing a lane change here, yeah, it really feels like someone has put like a 911 just a little bit higher. That's incredible. I mean, it's like it doesn't shake up like a single or like a half degree. It just stays upright. So air suspension stiffer, and we also have this and like this negative camber in the front, taking over from Turbo GT. Also, this one was broken, or was I don't.
Yeah.
You mean the 911 Turbo? Yeah, he is like fed up now from all the guys in front of there blocking. And we also have the PDCC here, which is also then active, and this is even more, you know, keeping the car level, anti-tilt control, and this is just a phenomenal ride. Of course, when we have here some like waves, I'm not sure if you can see it on the camera, but we're like a little bit blop, 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 blop. So when you have this sporty setting, then you also feel it more, and we have 22-inch wheels mounted. So when we go to the normal mode, you directly feel in the air suspension that it's leveling everything out a little bit smoother. So long-term motorway, I would rather keep it in the normal mode. It's still super sporty, definitely, but it's just making the ride more comfortable, especially when there are some waves in the road. So that's definitely a cool thing to have. And let's just test it here when I'm in the normal mode and doing some left-right. It's actually nice. Super nice, and it doesn't shake up at all either, so you don't need the sport mode for that. I actually feel that the vehicle is feeling even more, let's say, balanced and like going full circle between sportiness and comfort when you just leave it in the normal mode. Then it's such a great motorway cruiser. And you know, yes, when you drive a Porsche Panamera, for example, from the whole, you know, G-force, the G-force that are applied are of course the same in physics-wise, but they have a different effect on you. You know, when you sit lower, it's just while driving more comfortable, I always feel. But for an SUV, this is let's say, the least drawback in the sportiness you can make an SUV feel. Just remember how heavy this vehicle and how large it is and how easy it is to direct in the handling. So from this sporty handling aspect, it's definitely one of the best SUVs out there, but one of the best performance SUVs. The lane keeping assist, by the way, has also been updated here in the facelift, all the assistance systems. Let's say they don't pay the biggest emphasis on the assistance systems because they say, hey, it's still a driver's car and so on, so they don't have like this super elaborate assistance systems and so on. But then again, you always also have to say that the lane assist itself can sometimes be a little bit annoying. But here, when you have this separate column here underneath, and then you can actually press and hold the button underneath, and then you deactivate the lane keeping assist, and then you're getting rid of that. Here, now in this S combination, beautiful. You can accelerate out of the corner. It's just amazing. So on the one hand, when you step into the vehicle, you have this grown-up SUV feeling, and on the other hand, you think like, I mean, if I would happen to cross the Nürburgring Nordschleife at some point, I'd just take on it, do 2 laps, and then leave again, relaxed. That's the cool thing about the Cayenne. There's hardly any other performance SUV that can keep up with that performance. At the same time, when I put it to the normal mode, nice crackle and plops, it's still, once again, good in comfort, and that is not easy to achieve. And here, when you're going on the motorway, switching from one to another, it's always nice to have these power reserves. Holy moly. Yeah, just this level of sophistication it delivers is extraordinary. And then when you see, there's a little bit more traffic, you just go to the normal mode, relax again a little bit. And yeah, since these seats are on the one hand firm, but on the other hand, when they keep you a little bit tighter, they also keep weight of the lower lumbar area, and that also brings some comfort again. So here, let's test the adaptive cruise control. And that one, now the distance is kept to the car in front of us. And yeah, I could also say, like, click this one button again, then the lane keeping assist is active again. And sometimes I feel that's maybe the only downside. So when here you maybe want it to be more active, then it's not that sophisticated. And then again, in situations where it might annoy you, it does annoy you. So that's maybe the only thing I'm not super happy with. So I actually tend to deactivate the lane keeping assist and maybe just use the cruise control then for back and forth and so on to relax a little bit. And then when I want to attack again, then it's already deactivated, and that's it. That would probably be my favorite setting here. Passenger comment. It's approved by Leah. Yeah, she likes it. She's very relaxed.
Passenger princess, thumbs up.
Thumbs up from the passenger princess. That's nice. Yeah, because again, it's really nice for long-term travel. At the same time, it does bring you that performance when you need to. Yeah, the only thing is, of course, you also get performance with other engines here with the Porsche Cayenne. The one you have here in the GTS, or then on the Northern American market, the Turbo GT, is the one that is also the most expensive fuel-wise. Consumption, yes, it's a high fuel consuming vehicle, some 13 liters on 1 kilometers, 18 mpg US or 22 mpg UK. Pricing, well, a base Cayenne, for example, on the US market starts at $85,000 US, $125,000 US for the GTS, then some spec on top. In euros, for example, the German price is 100k for the base one, then 140,000 euros for the GTS. But this vehicle, as it stands here right now with all the extras, whistles and bells and whistles, 180,000 euros. Actually, the very same price than we recently had for the Panamera Hybrid. I'm not sure if you have seen this review yet, but definitely, yeah, the Porsche prices have absolutely gone through the roof. The special thing about the GTS is really that it feels kind of racetrack ready. Although it's a strong, high building SUV, it behaves like it wouldn't be an SUV, But I really have to say, from the driving comfort, Panamera is definitely better, because we directly have driven it before this one here, basically jumped from the Panamera to the Cayenne. So if you wonder about this question, that goes definitely in the direction of the Panamera. Porsche designers, how many crazy colors shall we offer? Project leader, yes, welcome. Thomas on Autogefühl here with the Porsche Macan GTS. Today, this top version that is replacing the turbo now with 440 horsepower in the facelifted version. And we're also going to find out, shall we go for the GTS or the S we tested last time? Also, of course, once again on the German motorway. Let's go. A strong look already for all new Macan facelifted versions with these new design elements right here, and then the GTS, huge air intakes and also a contrasting lower bumper to the color right here. This one is also equipped with the optional GTS pack. Yeah, a GTS package for the GTS model. Yeah, that's hashtag Porsche pricing policy. PPP, interesting. Then the main headlamps come always LED as standard and also with the dynamic light function. The length at 4.73 meters or 186 inches, and yes, this Python green sports SUV could be directly sent to green hell on the Nürburgring Nordschleife, and for this sporty purpose it has 21-inch wheels. GTS automatically comes with these huge wheels, and then optional the carbon ceramic brakes, and they always have the yellow brake calipers, which again looks kind of weird to the green color, doesn't it? Then the typical Macan styling, and we also have all dark accentuations here around the window and also at the side mirror here today. And this GTS design package comes also then here, you know, with the another contrast in the lower part. Adaptive air suspension comes also standard here for the GTS model, then with a stiffer trim. We'll see in the driving part how that turns out. In the rear, the light strip goes all the way through, and hey, that color is now camouflage with the background today, isn't it? And then here the GTS badge. The GTS, of course, always a theme about a lot of dark contrast. And it also comes standard then with this dark sports exhaust. Acceleration figure in comparison, by the way, if both are equipped with the sports chrono package. This one, you know, 4.3 seconds to 1 kilometers or 62 miles an hour, and the S model 4.6 seconds. These 0.3 seconds and also the other, you know, setup changes, will they make a difference in driving? We will find out very soon. Always so unique how that hood opens and leaves the headlamps as they are with this cutout there. Yeah. The base Macan would come with a 2-liter 4-cylinder. Boo! Okay, just kidding. 265 horsepower. And this in here for the S and the GTS, the 2.9-liter V6, both get this bi-turbo engine. Then I with 380 or here with 440 horsepower, now 60 horsepower plus if you compare it to the predecessor. The nice Porsche car key, and this time keyless entry made it to the extra list. Wow, didn't expect that. And then the thing is, you do not put the key in there itself, but then you have this, you know, extra key thing you turn then here on the inside. Would you prefer that or not? Tell me in the comments. Inside of the doors here with the beautiful carbon fiber inside, and there's also this GTS design package which adds these green contrast stitches all over the place. My favorite option, the microfiber steering wheel, then also once again with the green contrast stitches. This one has such a better input to the vehicle, it feels so much sportier than overall. On the steering wheel, hard buttons, here for the volume on the left side for example, and right side for the digital instruments, and also here this drive mode selector, so practical to change it while driving. This, by the way, the sports response button, and then you have 20 seconds of, you know, a higher boost or something, but yeah, you can also just go to the Sport Plus mode or Sport mode. You can get the base Macan and also the Macan S with animal-free seats. They are also a little bit less accentuated in the shoulder area. These one are the adaptive sport seats with more adjustments, but then they also cage you in a little bit more. Depends on what you like better, but they are not available without animal parts. Here the microfiber inserts for the GTS standard, but then the outside parts are animal skin actually. Here the, you know, multiple adjustment. Seating position is really racy indeed, and especially when you have the microfiber inserts, both steering wheel and also on the seat, they really keep you tight. So this is what makes this feeling here sportier in the GTS actually. Then lower, upper, out, in for the steering wheel. Electric control takes some time, but it's actually quite cool to have, and always this view on the analog RPM meter. Yeah, and it's just really cool to have that one digital speed. Yeah, I think we would like to have that in more cars still, don't we? And then here on the right side you have still a digital instrument, so you can also go then, for example, to the GPS map. And one more look here, the classic Porsche cockpit still. I think this one is still a good compromise between newer technologies and touchscreen and still having some real buttons, you know, a big RPM meter and so on. Or what's your take on that? To my taste, I think that's good, and we don't need more actually, do we? Yes, we need to have that in every Porsche, the analog clock. Still looks amazing. In the facelift you can see here less hard buttons. These are still good, you know, the climate buttons, they are for real. But then you have more capacitive buttons right here where the vents are coming from, but they're actually quite logical, so it's, I think, okay. And this new shifting lever, but it's really crisp here also with the microfiber in the GTS. And the cool thing is really, you know, when you move it, you hear that? There's also this kind of analog feedback I really like. An update for the infotainment system right here. So overall it's quite nice how it looks and so on. Here also responsive enough for the map. And the menu structure is also somewhat okay here. Everything stays on the left side and so on. And we have the Bose sound system here optional, and yeah, this gives really nice surround sound. Love that. Oh, and did I mention these screen contrast stitches? Beautiful detail also that we have the microfiber covering here for that armrest. Underneath you have some more space, and that's also where you store your phone. You can connect the Apple CarPlay with the cable or also wirelessly. If you're not too tall, it's actually quite comfortable here in the rear, but the thing is really when I stretch my legs and I'm also driving, I do hit this seat here at the back, and considering the length of the vehicle, that's not good usage of space. But the microfiber inserts are also really nice, and the seat position itself is really cool. And here also, yeah, an extra once again, a nice microfiber ceiling. In the lower part you get now two USB-C chargers and a huge middle tunnel, definitely. We also have adaptive cup holders right here. That's also the way, by the way, we can fold down this ski hatch. Look at that. Genesis found this button here so cool that they now also took it in their GV70 SUV. Very interesting. And here at the trunk, you can see here cabin trolley fits in a very easy way. 1 meter or 40 inches in width and about 95 centimeters or 37 inches in length right here. It definitely does the job, and you can also fold these seats here individually. Welcome to Thomas's Performance Driving Lounge with the Porsche Macan GTS in the facelifted version. And is it worth the extra price compared to the Macan S we recently tested? German motorway, Autobahn, Sport Plus mode. Whoa, that exhaust goes nuts already right now. And we'll do a flying start from 30 kilometers an hour. Let's go. That's 150 kilometers an hour. Woo, that went very well. But what about when we're already at speed here? When we're at 150? Can it still go further? Kilometers an hour, 125 miles an hour, still something coming. Air suspension here, standard for the GTS, tuned on a stiff note, and wow, what a great handling here. Quite loud now, of course, at higher speeds, but you know, a lot of cars do that, but noise insulation is not at the best level here with the Macan, we really have to say that, but just at higher speeds, you know, but how stable that car is and feels. So easily can be put to the racetrack at any time. Now hard on the brakes, but very good feeling for the brakes. Super great steering input, and here that optional microfiber steering is just lovely. It's the best about this vehicle here, this option, because the main thing why the GTS feels racier here in this case is that microfiber steering wheel, because you can hold on to that so much better. You have so much more grip for that. And also the seats here with the microfiber surface, now called Race Tex at Porsche. Remember, Sport Tex is the fabric now. Race Tex is the microfiber, which used to be the Alcantara, but when they changed suppliers, Alcantara is a brand name. It's not the material itself. That would be microfiber, and the brands are like Alcantara, Dynamica, and Mercedes, for example, and then some other or no-name suppliers or whatever, or don't know, I just want to use their own brand name. So the microfiber here, Race Tex, and the fabric is Sport Tex. And well, being kept more tight in the seat, tight on the steering wheel. Overall, it feels racier. The acceleration difference, GTS versus S, remember that? 0.3 seconds. Here with the sports chrono package, 4.3 seconds, whereas the S with the sports chrono package is 4.6 seconds. And these 0.3 seconds, do you realize them really? Hardly. Not such a difference. You can also get the same sport exhaust, standard here. Suspension is maybe a little bit stiffer, especially here when you are in these sporty modes. But does it feel completely different? As for in this respect, no. But soon we'll also do our agile driving up the hill and see how the agile driving performs, like left and right and stuff. If this is different than from the S and the GTS, this will be also very interesting. You're getting off the motorway. This is just a lovely area, so much fun. And indeed, as for the agile driving, when you think about, hey, go smaller or bigger, like Macan or Cayenne, yeah, the Macan is definitely more fun, whereas the Cayenne just delivers more comfort and this more floating driving experience, definitely. Although it can be sporty at any time either, you know, but here just more weight, more compact building, and yeah, that steering here is so precise, no dead zone angle whatsoever. Everything is very smooth and feels so natural. So, you know, at VW and Audi, they have more progressive steering wheels. Meanwhile, here you steer a little bit more, but they still got it best with the natural feeling of the steering. And yeah, to me, that's really, really good in a car world where everything gets more digital and everything is done by electronics. The same accounts also for the steering wheel in a way, you know, because you have, you know, also electric support. Yet at the same time, it still feels analog enough. And that's the thing here about this vehicle, also with the analog meter. There is still something analog about this vehicle, and that's what I love. Yeah, that's what I mean. Lovely. Blop, blop, blop. That V6, and yeah, I can just stress again, I'm really a fan of electric vehicles. When you drive something like this, it still gets your petrol head hard going in a way. And I really hope that in the future we can kind of have both. We already have super performance from the EVs. Maybe at some point we also get a decent sound and not spaceship BS, you know. So when you're going to normal mode, by the way, exhaust is more silent. It'll be fine. And you can also cruise on the motorway. Cruise control can be set here with the old school left column here, but it's not like a super intervening, you know, lane keeping assist and so on. So this is also kept more basic. Remember, it's a very old platform. This is the past Q5 platform. It's a very old car essentially. And when the EV Macans launched in 2023, this one here then will still be built in that way to have the, you know, ICE EV transition. This will be even older. But again, it must not be, you know, something super bad, you know. So this is then proven tech. That's the, you know, that's the good side of it. Once again, Sport Plus mode. And let's head it out from 90 kilometers an hour. Let hell fly. Yeah, the green hell with the Python green color. And this is like green and hell characteristics here. Long turn bend. So great control over that vehicle. Wow, 220 kilometers an hour. I'm still feeling so safe. Of course, always safety first here when cars are getting on the road. And definitely with that color, everyone is seeing me miles ahead and is hopefully not cleaning. There we go. Thank you. Oh, there's another green hell car, a Mazda 2. Yeah, and that happens also. That's why you also have to pay attention, because some do not look in the rear mirror and stuff like this happens. But that's why we also have the carbon ceramic brakes here. But make no mistake, for most usages, the tungsten carbide brake will be better. They also do not create the brake dust of a classic disc brake. And here the PCCB, the ceramic brakes, you know, the thing is, you have to really push them really hard, and that's, you know, not everyone is used to that. So the ceramic brakes, especially when you begin to use them, they really want to be like hammered as the brake pedal. That, yeah, definitely have to get used to it. And also they collect small stones, quite likable. So I would not go for the option. It's just too expensive. And I think this this tungsten carbide coating is a very good compromise they're offering right now. Less brake dust, better brake performance, less fading, not as expensive as the ceramic brakes. Yeah, that's, I think, a very cool choice. What about that tunnel? Gentlemen, lower your windows. Nice. That's a sound, right? And now driving up Autogefühl's peak. Let's see that rear-wheel biased all-wheel drive together with this crisp steering. Getting out of the corner very nicely. Wow, that's super cool. And here, when we're going uphill, then the GTS, you know, the 60 horsepower more, that is indeed giving us a little difference. So it's just a little bit quicker out of the corners. Once again, what a great handling, so much fun. So it's hardly possible to have so much fun in a compact or mid-size SUV. And wow, this is just pure awesomeness. Yeah, the GTS does have a little bit more spice here now, especially when going up here in these corners. Then it becomes obvious. So just straight acceleration, not necessarily, but here the combined acceleration and agile driving, handling, and uphill out of the corners. Yeah, that's where the GTS indeed just has a little bit more punch and yeah, adds a little bit more fun feeling. Yeah, I really have to admit that. However, you know, go for the GTS or go for the S? The two cars we present to you, because the S had so many extras, the price was almost equal. Yeah, then you can also go for the GTS basically. However, the S has the advantage, when you go more base version, it will be way less expensive, and you can also get non-animal skin seats, although here you have the microfiber surfaces. The problem is that you still have an added animal skin. What doesn't make any sense, of course. Yeah, so which one would I go for actually? So I think the Macan S is meanwhile the Macan to go for. So my tip would be get a Macan S, but buy it base spec, that you don't spend too much money. Because like 110 or then for the S, and we had spec, and 118 here for the GTS, the total price, it's nonsense. You know, what the hell? What are they thinking? So get a Macan S, buy it base spec, and you'll be just fine. You already get the same engine as it's here, and you also can get an animal-free S for the seats. That would be the best Macan to go for at the moment. When you want to spend incredibly amount of money for the Macan anyway, and would also spec the S to the roof, then you can also might as well go for the GTS.
I want a sports car. No, I want an SUV. No, I want a sports car.
Darling, it's okay. I just bought a car for you to finally stop your nightmares.
Really? Thank you so much, honey, for the Porsche Cayenne Turbo in this updated version here, the new Cayenne facelift. We're going to tell you all about it, and will this one here solve this riddle between sports car and SUV? We're going to find out with Thomas Autogefühl in 4K, full screen, full length. Let's go here with the front. The Turbo has a special unique opening here in the lower part, even more massive. Carrara white is our exterior color, and you start with new headlamps. LED is of course already base, and then these ones here are the HD matrix lights, so they have even more high beam performance and even can project some things on the ground in the front. And overall, this is an extended facelift indeed. because in all versions they really changed the hardware. For example, also the hood here has now a different form, so not much stayed the same, both exterior and interior, and we will give you an extended tour and drive that thing. 4,93 or 194 inches is the length here for the, whoa, yes, a little bit uneven here in the ground. No problem for this off-road vehicle, but sports car, SUV, it's everything basically. Here now in the facelift, both the base PASM and the optional air suspension now work with a 2-valve system that has been reworked. In both cases, less tilting. Here the Cayenne Turbo comes with the air suspension as standard. 20-inch wheels are base now. These are the 22-inch wheels, so the biggest ones available. And here in the Turbo version, you also have the painted wheel arches. Otherwise, they would have this contrast. And technology-wise, you also get the rear axis steering. Turns the rear wheels in the opposite direction, the front wheels up to 3 degrees. In the rear, SUV and Coupe look kinda alike now, because here, even in the SUV, the typical body style, the number plate moved to the lower part of the vehicle. Here we have then the sporty accentuations in the lower part, Cayenne Turbo badge, really prominent, and 3-dimensional Porsche lettering with the light strip going all the way across. Then, usually with the Cayenne Turbo, you would have this more square exhaust. We can see it here also in our shots. And this one is the optional sports exhaust, and in black with round tips. In German it would be, by the way, Sportabgasanlage. Listen and repeat. Sportabgasanlage. And the Porsche guys often say, to make a little bit sportier, oh, this one has the Sportaga. Sportaga, like short for Abgasanlage. Turning indicators in the front. Here this lower dual blade. Turning indicators in the rear. Really fancy because they enclose the red light. The key fob, always nice with this 911 silhouette. Then door closing sound. Really solid, but you can also get the optional soft close if you like. And then inside of the doors, really wrapped tightly everything. Here you have an optional neodyme accentuations. You can also maybe call it gold, but they call it neodyme. Then in the lower part, also this is not just plain hard plastic, it's some kind of coating on it as well. Then the sporty interior. Here you can also optionally get some carbon fiber and once again these neodyme accentuations. But if this green note on the animal skin seats here is something suitable, I think that can be left up for discussion. The problem of the seats is it's a little bit stiff, you know, so the whole seating comfort, the position itself is cool. Command driving position, upright, good view and so on. But it's just too stiff as for the bolsterings, so then is a compromise as for the comfort. If you have the chance to take the race tech seats, the microfiber, or maybe in the combination with the coupe and the sports lightweight package, these retro seats with the fabric, it is softer actual seating, more comfortable, but here they do have a problem. They need more alternatives, definitely. As for headroom, with 189 or 602, a lot of headroom left, so that's cool. And here we also have this optional Alcantara headliner. So if you forgot to shave, you can just use the shifting lever, drive, reverse, or in here for parking. In the cockpit, you get now more sports car experience as well. 911 steering wheel, cockpit with the instruments and the displays from the Porsche Taycan. 12.6-inch digital instruments, 12.3-inch infotainment, and 10.9-inch passenger display, which I can't see from here, but then the passenger can see it from here. And I really love that I can change the driving modes here directly to steering wheel, easily possible while driving. And here also at the steering wheel, I still have real buttons, and they also have nice clicking sounds. The only confusing thing is that the volume is on the left. On the right side, you control the digital instruments. I think it would have been more logic when I control the digital instrument on the left side and the volume is on the right side. Or what's your take on that? Might be different than in the right-hand driving version, right? Of course, you can also get a head-up display. We still have something analog here. Of course, the characteristic clock. Infotainment system. Here you can see when I'm switching the driving modes how the other things also changed. Here, for example, in sport mode, then the sport exhaust system also goes on. You can always also individually do that We're here then in the Sports Plus mode. The infotainment system itself, you can see in the car internal GPS, it's, let's say, decently quick, so not the most modern one, but also not bad at all. And you also have a nice integration here for Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, available wired or wireless. In the middle console, I love this metal knurling and also the clicking sound. However, a lot of high gloss black piano lacquer. Here also the heated seats, they leave fingerprints and so on. When you slide this one open, USB-C charging, but also inductive charging pad. It's cooled as well. And then we have these adaptive cup holders. They hold the balls tight. And then here we have a lot of space underneath, under the armrest. However, here with the armrest, you have a problem in the EU version. In the US version, this is properly fixed and you need to release it. Here, it's just, you know, yeah, somewhat fixed, but not actively. So when you're braking, you have pressure with your elbow on that armrest, then it slides forward automatically, especially when you have two elbows on here, when you're now driving with the passenger. So it's a little bit fixer than it was before in our very first ride with the facelift here, but yeah, I don't know. And it was the same thing before actually. And here, when you have bottles in here, this happens. In this case, it's not a problem, but imagine the bottle is open, or even worse, there's an open coffee cup or something. Yeah, then that might really be a problem when that slides forward while braking, and then you have coffee all over your vehicle. Enough space on the rear seats definitely here, even when a tall driver is driving. And also as for the headroom, the Coupe, by the way, would have headroom like this. I can put a hand over my head, but that's it. So here in the SUV version, you're of course still more flexible. You can fold the back part of the seat a little bit more upright or a little bit more backward. That is done here with the lever underneath. Right here, pulling this lever, and then you can actually change it. And this is also the only solution that you can actually fold the seat then for the trunk itself. It doesn't work from the trunk in the back. Interesting here that we still have a climate console here with nice metal knurling knobs and clicking sound in the rear. And what's now very strange here in the rear of the facelift, these floor mats, they are not fixed in any way in the rear. So very often when you get in or out of the vehicle, just something like this happens here. So let me tell you a little story of how that happened. So I thought that's just cost savings, and I still think so. Porsche says that at the Porsche dealers, customers were coming and showing like, hey, I wanted to take out the rear floor mats for cleaning, and then I ripped off the whole thing, including the floor underneath. Because, you know, they had these fixations like in the front, and some people might have overreacted and pulled it like, you know, sideways and then ripped everything apart. And then I said, yeah, it's better to have them loose in there. Then we came up with our video, and now I heard from background talks that they are might going to change it again. Electric hatch, and here the true SUV form of course has an advantage because it's just a little bit higher in this part. Then you have the manual cover here and a good 1.40 meters in width. The same goes also 1.40 meters almost in length. You can see here you can easily store a lot of luggage, and the plug-in hybrid versions you can see here they're a little bit higher, so you lose some height, but then underneath you still have some space, for example for a charging cable. And to fold the seats, as I said, you can do nothing from here actually. You really have to go around and then fold it from the rear compartment, or just this one here, the middle part, you can fold from here. This is here the most powerful Porsche Cayenne, 740 horsepower, so one of two pinnacle versions. Here the Cayenne Turbo e-hybrid, because it's always a plug-in hybrid combination, 4-liter V8 bi-turbo with 740 horsepower, the total system output. Rear-wheel biased all-wheel drive and 3.7 seconds in the acceleration figure. For the European market, this one is the pinnacle. On the US market or Northern American market, you can still get the Turbo GT for the Coupe. That one then with the pure 4-liter V8 bi-turbo, and that one then has 3.3 seconds in the acceleration, so even quicker. Other versions would have the 3-liter V6 as the base version, or the Cayenne S, also now with the 4-liter V8, but not as much horsepower. And the plug-in hybrids, either this one here or 2 other versions based on the 3-liter V6. Both have in common 26 kilowatt-hour battery now, so higher electric range, realistic 60-70 kilometers or 40-50 miles. In hybrid specific, you can now charge with 11 kilowatt AC. Doesn't sound much, but it was less before. Plop, that's 100. Woo! Think that solves my nightmares. Yeah, feels like a sports car in the acceleration at least. I need more AC. Yeah, whoa. But it's always kind of weird because you sit so high and you do have that SUV feeling, and at the same time you have this extreme acceleration. You also heard our luggage flying in the trunk to the back part, and I even secured it before, you know, but there's so much G-force then being applied. And here, of course, even more interesting in the Sports Plus mode, that air suspension goes a little bit stiffer, and we have the sports exhaust giving us some feedback from that V8. You want to take your clothes off? Or? I mean, like, not everything, you know. So here in the corner, in the slow speeds, the rear axis steering, which is optional, also helps me. That makes the car even more agile, steering in the opposite direction in the front wheels. And you see here, we already caught the next car in front of us. Wow. Also in the corners, I mean, everything stays upright. It doesn't lean to the sides at all. So you don't have the feeling that you would have the disadvantages of a high seating SUV and it would, you know, apply too much G-force to you. It feels overall lighter than it actually is. And also when I'm going some left and right in slalom here, it's such a crisp feeling actually. Here, steering commands, very slight degree angles directly transported to the road. I have a direct feeling of what the car is doing, what I'm doing, and what is happening on the road. That is one-to-one, a very direct and crisp experience. That's what I really love about this vehicle. And of course, this V8, it gives you definitely more than just an electric vehicle because you have this slight delay. Electric is always, you know, you have this instant torque there. Here, of course, you have the combination of both. Therefore, the system output of 740 horsepower. And that is something special, yes, and it delivers you more power. At the same time, they manage it here that it doesn't feel too artificial, you know. So sometimes we had hybrids which felt very artificial. And for example, recently in the S63, you know, that 8-cylinder Mercedes hybrid concept, there the case was rather that you felt more electric boost. And here it's not that much, you know. So you more feel actually the engine than the electric boost. You still have the electric boost, but it doesn't cover things up, you know what I mean? So, and I think that's actually a good thing. Still, of course, if you're pure petrol, you're always more natural in feeling the way. But again, I have to say, for a hybrid driving experience, they made it as pure petrol as possible, I would say. And that's, to me, definitely a very cool feeling. Here, once again, some more nice corners. Accelerates out very well. Rear wheel bias of that all-wheel drive. And I can't believe how quickly I can take these corners here, although it's an SUV and it's so much fun to drive. So as for the driving fun, probably one of the best you can have in an SUV. As for the comfort, you have some compromises. First of all, yes, they hold you quite well as for the side bolstering, but the bolstering itself is too stiff. The so-called Einsitzhöhe is not enough. It needs to be softer. If you can get a version with either the Racetrack's microfiber, so they always call it Racetex at Porsche then, or the Sports Lightweight package, which have these retro fabric seats, this would deliver you more comfort because, you know, it's just softer to sit on. So definitely go for that in your market to get more comfort, because I think people who want to buy this vehicle here, they want that sporty experience, but they also don't want any compromise on comfort. Suspension-wise, this is totally fine actually, because it delivers you that sporty experience from suspension. At the same time, the air suspension rules out the bumps and so on. And here we have the biggest 22-inch wheels mounted, and they're perfectly fine, you know. So we also have some uneven parts in the road, and it doesn't get uncomfortable at all. So suspension-wise, I think great job both for being sporty and comfort purposes. At all times, you can here change the driving modes. Go back to here, in this case, normal hybrid driving mode. Then everything is calms down. Maybe the engine even shuts off directly and you're driving all electric. And in city traffic or something, this can actually be a pleasant experience when you're really silent. You have no local emissions then in the city. That's also an advantage. So that's actually pretty cool then. But at the same time, if you want a sporty experience, go to Sports or Sports Plus. The electronic helper systems are drawn back then, and you directly have the full power available, and you can get this crisper sound. Also, this extra exhaust note is being released, and wow, this is such a superb experience. About the rear axle steering, by the way, let me demonstrate that to you even in a better way. For example, here I just do a U-turn now, and you see here, for such a large vehicle that goes really quickly, then I can use all of that 3 degrees, so the turning circle is massively reduced. And as I said, at lower speeds it gives you a sporty experience, but once again what they managed here, and that is done by a lot of hours and hours of testing and doing setup. Sometimes we have vehicles that feel kind of artificial. As for the rear axle steering, you feel it would be some kind of like artificial fishtailing or something, but that's also not the case here. So they once again found a natural balanced feeling also for the rear axle steering, and that's actually also very good as for balancing out the whole vehicle. It feels so neutral in the balancing, you know what I mean? So it's one of these large vehicles where you say you can have the full control over the full power of it. Of course, at some point you can't deny the fact it's an SUV and it's heavy, because when you're entering a corner at high speed, at some point physics is just driving you outside the corner, you know. So, but for what you can do with a large SUV, this is probably one of the pinnacles. It might be different when they then at some point come up with the full electric version of the Cayenne. Of course, we'll keep you all updated with these developments here also on our channel. And hybrid specific, you start here in the e-power mode. That means you drive all electric. It's all silent. You just have this, certain sound that needs to be played also for pedestrians outside. And you can also, when the battery is full, drive significant of time all electric. As I said, it's probably some 60, 70 kilometers or 40, 50 miles, depending on how you drive and how the topography is and so on and so on. And if you pin it down, then the combustion engine is always active. Or if you switch to the driving modes, for example, you can also switch to the hybrid mode. This would actually make sense, for example, that you drive motorway, then on a petrol engine, and maybe inside the city, then all electric, and the car switches back and forth. But if I go here to the sport mode already, then you can see also here the RPM meter gets active. Then always the combustion engine is being activated. Sport Plus, of course, the same. And you also have an off-road mode, or a gravel off-road mode. Then the air suspension is going higher, so you have even more ground clearance. And in this case, also the combustion engine is being activated to give you maybe some power when you have wheel spin or something like that. So very versatile indeed. Also as for the powertrain, even though there are hybrids out there that have a higher pure electric range nowadays, at least they increased that here significantly for this new facelifted version. Driving with the off-road mode, by the way, is also fun because you feel the car is a little bit more higher. It's not more comfortable or something, rather the opposite, because you lose, of course, some travel then in the other way from the suspension. And if you drive way faster, then at some point the car also lowers itself automatically again. So is my nightmare over now? Well, for Leah it has just begun, because she could hardly keep her breakfast after these curves here. This is the side effect then of this SUV, especially of the passenger. you can't deny it can never be a sports car. For an SUV, this is super impressive, and wow, what have they managed to put there on the road? So sporty, so much fun, but a true sports car will always be better. You just have the lower center of gravity and you do always feel that, especially then for the passenger. The facelift in general added a lot of nice features, exterior and interior. Some things still need to be improved. We also took you on a tour of that.
Here we go. Oh.
It's literally hot here today, out in the Swedish desert, so to speak, with the Porsche Cayenne Turbo GT, a racetrack feature with the hottest Cayenne.
This quarry, they
Whoa,
bought
look
an
at
old
that.
quarry.
Oh my God, look
my
at
God.
What? We're in Gotland, Sweden for you with an all-new racetrack, and this island here is called the Swedish Majorca because it's always so hot here. And fitting to the hot wheels here with a Cayenne Turbo GT with an even stronger styling, lower end, big air intakes, LED lamps as standard, and the color here is called Arctic Grey with special wheels. And we also have other color choices for you, a green one. Is it maybe German racing green with the so-called neodyme wheels in that golden color, or maybe all black for you with the black wheels, and another choice for you, the chalk color, a very interesting one. We also know it from the Panamera, for example. That one then with blue wheels, so even more individualization possible. Oh hey, well, what about the white one here with the golden wheels? That's a fancy combination, isn't it? Top speed of this thing, 300 kilometers an hour or 186 miles an hour, the fastest Cayenne yet, and also the quickest. Soon more with the engine details. Whew. It's really hot in here right now. So then, 22-inch wheels are standard here in this neodyme color. Carbon ceramic brakes are also standard for this top-of-the-line model, and rear axle steering and anti-roll control. So everything the Cayenne offer you get with this vehicle. Also, the standard air suspension sits 17 millimeters lower than with the normal turbo and 7 millimeters lower than with the GTS. So even lower than anything else, and more carbon fiber use. It has the sports lightweight package, means carbon fiber roof, and also special here for this version, another carbon fiber flap, and also even stronger rear spoilers. So actually two rear spoilers, one here, the second one there, and that brings just additional 40 kilograms, so almost 80 pounds of more downforce there in the rear. And you maybe also see that this is the coupe of the Cayenne. So the Turbo GT only available as a coupe and only available with 4 seats. The Turbo GT has a wider track, and also they increased the negative camber angles, so it's even sportier than, and yeah, actually even racetrack optimized. They have a 7-minute 38 seconds mark on the Nürburgring Nordschleife. 3.3 seconds is the acceleration figure, by the way. And there's this very special titanium exhaust, and when it's really hot, then the blue part here does really glow in blue. And then we also have a carbon fiber diffuser. Under the hood we have a 4-liter V8 bi-turbo, 640 horsepower in this case, of course all-wheel drive with rear wheel biased. And if you know that one here from the Audi RSQ8, yes, you're exactly right, it's the very same engine. And as I said, 3.3 seconds is the acceleration figure. Let's see. Key fob, light and Porsche structure, and then door closing sound. Very solid, and it also has here the option of soft close. Ta-da! Here we go. And then the interior, full of Alcantara. That's how we want it when it's racy. It's the raciest material, both for the steering wheel here, contrast stitches on the inside, and also a yellow 12 o'clock mark right there on the top part. That's beautiful. And then The Alcantara seats, also Alcantara on the middle, and even in a perforated structure for even more breathability while racy driving. And we also have the Turbo GT stitching at the seat. There are still some animal shares, but most of the interior is indeed Alcantara. Also the sealing all the way around, that creating a beautiful and cozy but yet racy atmosphere. Also here the Porsche logo stamping on the middle console right there. And also here the grab handles, even with more Alcantara. So it's to me one of the best Porsche Cayenne's interiors I've seen. Yes, it is dark and bright is a little bit fancier, but for a racy interior here, really beautiful. And we maybe also here in the background, we have some workshop atmosphere going on here now. In the interior overview, we can clearly see the lovely racing features here. Another Alcantara covering here for the dashboard. Then special backgrounds here for the analog clock, for example, and also for the instruments, which are digital left and the right side, for example, then for the map. Then the central infotainment screen, PCM 6.0 with Android Auto surprise coming up very soon. Steering wheel with a great microfiber grip, it's the best. No doubt about that. Cozy and at the same time racy. And then we also have the drive mode select directly at the steering wheel here with the red button for this overboost function. Middle part, high gloss black, yeah, a lot, but at least we have still manual control of the climate unit. Glad to have that. And then the typical cup holders for the Porsche and so on. And also then the armrest, which can be opened for the USB-C connectors. Infotainment system here with a map and somewhat responsive, but I've had it recently in Cayennes that it sometimes failed the whole system. I hope this recent update here, the all-new update, will better that. And here you can see the island of Gotland on this island in Sweden. Yay! Android Auto for the Porsche, first time. And here we go. This is the integration. Looks like this. Apple CarPlay is possible also wirelessly. Here the Android Auto just with the cable. And I think it's actually quite clear and visible, this integration. Sometimes it has slow moments, but at the moment actually it's working quite well. So Android users can now also buy Porsches. When you're using the driving modes, here for example go to sports mode, then the sports exhaust system also is active, even more boost then. Also the suspension changes and also here in the Sport Plus and so on. And here we can extend the spoiler. Here also when stationary for show off or maybe for cleaning and something. It looks quite fancy indeed, but even further, it only goes then when driving really fast. Just love the seating position here in this platform. Porsche Cayenne, Audi Q7, Audi Q8, VW Touareg and so on. It's upright, it's a full-size SUV, easy entry. As a tall adult, no problem at all. And headroom here with runway is 86 or 6.1. Plenty left and electronic control of the steering wheel. What about if you're a little bit shorter? AJ is coming up, checking out here.
So, some opinions from my perspective. I'm 5'8" or 1.73 meters, thereabout. Well, I don't really feel like I'm lost in this car. It's a really slim and low dashboard, so it's not jutting out too far. The windshield, unfortunately, isn't very tall, so you still feel like you're looking through some sunglasses. But on the whole, the seating position, even with the seat all the way down, is really comfortable for me to see outside through the front and the side.
In the rear we can see it's 4 seats only. In the middle part we have just this carry hole or something. No middle seat, but most of the time probably you can actually live with that. And this single seat setup here is actually racy, looks great, and is also at the same time quite comfortable. However, in the SUV you would have more comfort, not available here in the Turbo GT, because here with the Coupe they made the bench a little bit lower and a little bit different from the angle, so they can still offer decent headroom. But by that you lose a little bit of comfort, but still definitely bearable. At the end of the day, you need to put your racing gloves and helmets and overalls somewhere in the trunk. And you can see here, although it's racy, it's still somewhat a useful family vehicle if you want. The Coupe is a little bit limited in height, but still somewhat okay. Meter of 40 inches in width and also a meter of 40 inches in length. And you can see here, the cabin trolley is no problem, even in a vertical way. Welcome guys to the racetrack. Woo! First time on the Goatland ring. This track was, at the time we shoot this video, recently opened, and it's supposed to be a mix of Nürburgring Nordschleife, Spa Francorchamps and Bilsterberg, and let's see what's awaiting us.
Yeah, this is brand new. I think they finished this racetrack in May, so this is a crazy racetrack you've never heard of. Similar to Ascari in my opinion, but bigger.
What is this vehicle?
It's, oh my god, it's a pretty tight track.
Whoa, I mean, we're driving an SUV and I mean, of course, you feel the weight and a little bit of a body roll, but I mean, considering it's an SUV, you have to bite yourself and remind it that, hey, this is an SUV, and it really feels like a sports car. Wow. Well,
Thomas, maybe when you're driving, and I'm waiting to get behind the wheel, but as a co-driver, I really feel the body roll a lot more. So I mean, of course, it's really good, but I feel it a lot more.
That's interesting, huh?
I feel like I'm being tossed around a lot more.
I mean, the steering is so ultra precise, and great grip from the Alcantara steering wheel. It's really important I can hold onto it. Oh, wow, that 4-liter V8 is also just seamless. I mean, there's no lag at all. Great acceleration out. Wow. It's a 911 Turbo in front of us as an instructor vehicle. Of course, that's a little bit unfair, right? That's the only reason I cannot catch up to him.
I can also feel the rotation, so that torque vectoring,
wow, look
the
at
rear axle. This quarry, they
whoa,
bought
look
an
at
old
that.
quarry.
Oh my god!
Oh my god!
What? Woo! Oh
Incredible
my god!
compression as well.
Yes, totally in the compression. 200 kilometers an hour, 125 miles an hour. Now it's like this. Wow! They put it, you know, on purpose here, that you have like this shaking up process, suspension testing at its best. Now between the apex. Wow, this track is amazing. I mean, what the hell is this? Who built this and why? Obviously, we see it. Oh, we're shooting in the sky.
I don't know.
God! Oh my goodness.
They really took just an old quarry, I bet.
Holy
because there's so much rock everywhere, and then they decided, hey, what do we do with this leftover quarry? Let's build a racetrack.
Yeah.
There's so much elevation change in just that section of the track.
Yeah, sometimes you feel like you're on the moon or something. Yeah. And we're shooting up in the... Whoa. That titanium exhaust is really...
getting louder.
Whoa. Oh, this is Nordschleife now.
Yeah, the carousel.
That's
I can
the carousel.
recognize this.
Screaming tires, but it's really a soft compound we have there on there, you saw, right?
Very soft, yeah.
Whoa.
But so much grip, so much composure.
I mean, yeah, the grip that this car is offering here at this racetrack is amazing. And I mean, do you feel how it goes around in the corner?
It really is braking physics. It's just, you know, it's like the rear axle and the front axle are intelligently working together to give you the best cornering precision.
Holy moly. This is, I mean, wow.
Thomas, you're seldom speechless, but I find you quite excited at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, it's for sure a part of the racetrack, definitely. I mean, this racetrack is absolutely insane. It's absolutely insane. And yeah, I heard it would be challenging, but it is indeed. And it's kind of like the best of racetracks, kind of, you know?
Yeah.
And
the greatest hits.
Yeah, and I mean, there's no doubt. A true sports car like the 911, for example, it will still be better on this racetrack than the Cayenne. There's no denying the fact and then no denying the physics in a way, you know? Yeah. But for an SUV, I guess that is as good as it gets at this moment. I don't see an SUV can be sportier than this, you know? So, really impressed. So, I mean, at the time, you're right, AJ. You feel the body roll, feel the weight of the vehicle, and it's in a way, seating-wise, it's more comfortable here on the racetrack in the Cayenne. But of course, you know, G-force-wise, it's more comfortable in the sports car on the racetrack, no doubt about that. But once again, I think it's a good example of what you can do with an SUV when you tune it to the max, and you will feel it when you get to drive it. The moment you get on the throttle, the car gets lighter. You know, it helps the car so much more to get around the corner. So improved of the rear wheel bias of the all-wheel drive.
Yeah.
Look at that. I mean, of course it's all-wheel drive, so I can even more accelerate in the corners. With rear-wheel drive, we would rather, wait until the exit of the corner. And here with all-wheel drive, I can sometimes, I'm halfway out of the corner, I can already hammer the throttle.
Oh no, this part of the track again.
Yeah.
Thomas, here we go.
Wow, that looks
Hold
amazing
on to
with
your
water.
lunch.
Whoa, my goodness.
I felt the traction control cutting a little bit. I heard it because I think, we're not airborne, but we were going to lose traction.
God.
So bumpy here. Oh my God. The car's just like jumping.
200 kilometers now, 125 miles. Oh. Guys, I need a shower. Definitely, I need 2 showers after these laps.
You need to hose the car down.
Yeah.
And then now straight to the moon,
Once
Just
again.
like Richard Branson a couple days ago. I feel like I'm being shot into space right now. Here we go. Oh.
Oh my goodness. Oh, what an experience here. What an experience. So, you want to try that thing?
Hell yeah.
So now AJ turn, and he promised me that I can keep my lunch. So be gentle on me. I'm a bad co-driver.
Be gentle on me. It's my first time. No.
Oh, I know where this, where the handles are here. I also have a nice Alcantara wrapped handle in the top part on the right side. So now I really know what they are for. And
I promise to go gentle. I think it's a great way to understand the car and understand its dynamics a little bit better. But it seems like I'm playing a video game with a cheat code where there's no way for me to lose traction because it's just, I don't know, it's impossible. There's so much grip.
it's hooking up so well.
It's incredible, really is. It shouldn't be this easy to drive something this heavy, this quickly. Something is wrong.
Yeah, and I have to say, I mean, considering it's an SUV, I would have imagined it worse as a co-driver. But I mean, yes, you feel it's no low-seating sports car.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, time-wise, you can score really good lap times here.
Yeah, I mean, as a driver, I'm a lot more focused. My body is always leaning in.
Yeah.
I'm in the zone, right? So for me, I don't feel like I'm being tossed around so much, whereas you would as the co-driver.
Roller coaster.
This track is just ridiculous. It really feels like you're on the moon.
It's absolutely ridiculous, this track. It's probably the most ridiculous track I've driven. Yes,
We've been to a lot of racetracks.
Yeah.
I mean, Nürburgring many times, and then some others. This really feels like the moon because of the white rocks, and then like these huge craters. It's really distracting, this gorgeous drop and this pond on the left, but you gotta keep in line here.
Take your focus, on the right there, like.
Yeah, otherwise you're gonna be in the wall.
Yeah.
But yeah, the steering, Porsche steering is always impeccable. This is no different. Along with that torque vectoring differential and rear steering, it really is continuously manipulating the way the rear wheels are pointing, and it just helps you rotate the car so easily. That four-wheel drive as well, which can shuffle power, and that anti-roll, that active body control with those active anti-roll bars.
Yeah,
really, I think it just
really straight, man.
It shouldn't be this easy. The seats are really, holding me in place really well. The braking also, by the way, is really good. It's again, the car kind of wraps itself around you. I'm taking it slow. It's a cool down lap now.
Yeah, it's cool, but even at that speed, it's like the whole entrails come like.
You go a little bit weightless for a moment.
Yeah, totally.
I think we've had enough fun hooning this SUV around on the racetrack. Let's take it out around Sweden, around Gotland a little bit, and try to see if it's an SUV you can live with. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, guys, we've been to the racetrack and it was an amazing performance for an SUV. But what about, you're not racing this SUV all day on the racetrack. So what about the normal driving experience? And I would say so far, fairly comfortable, right?
Yeah, it's a really great SUV to live with. I think the sound insulation is something that we first noticed. Despite the really big wheels, the carbon fiber roof, there's still quite a lot of sound deadening.
Yeah, I mean, so it doesn't feel so much different from a normal Cayenne. Of course, you feel the sport setup, but it's stiffer. The steering to me is way firmer than in the normal Cayenne, also driving it on the road. But I wouldn't say that, oh, you went for the sportiest version, you cannot use it on the road. I think it still does the good job with the air suspension. You feel this lower and stiffer setup, I think also as a passenger. But still, it's not that I would say, this is now an uncomfortable car. And I think that's also the secret about the Cayenne. People go for it to get the Porsche feeling, but without the back pain from a 911 or something.
Absolutely. The seats are also really comfortable. I think the padding is just right. Because this is a wider car or an SUV, I think the seats are also a little bit more generous, you know? They're a little bit wider. Plus, there's plenty of soft touch materials anywhere you look, anywhere your legs, your knee, your arms, your elbows might touch.
Alcantara steering wheel is just lovely.
Padded armrest on the door, here in the central console, even this little kind of haunch here for me to rest my palm.
Look at that, AJ is hardly moving as a passenger.
Hardly moving, yeah.
I mean, it's also like, because of the microfiber seats, I mean, it's really hot today outside, and we don't even need the seat cooling because the microfiber seat, we don't sweat in that so much, and it also keeps you tighter. So that's really good for your passengers.
Yeah, perforated. And yeah, it's I think the entire cabin has an aura of quality and rigidity. Everything is taut and tight. A little bit too much black for my taste. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I like the contrasting elements, but I also love bright interior. I mean, this is like this rather subtle, sporty styling. That's cool. Oh, they put the microfiber horns here. That's great. It's also better for like when you touch it with your knees here. Exactly. That's really good. And here, that rear extra steering, it's really playing an effect, right? You somehow feel that something is moving, you know, in the rear. Although it would be, I think we can slow down a little bit. Yeah, when we're at slow speed, then there we go. You also feel it in the steering wheel. When you're driving really slow, then you feel the rear wheels are going in the opposite direction than the front wheels. Steering feels a little bit lighter then, and the car feels, it's kind of like this faking a shorter wheelbase.
Exactly. It kind of spins like around its axis like a top. I mean, the first time I drove this platform was, I think, about 3-4 years ago with the Touareg. And then, even with the RSQ8 that we had recently, it really shrinks this bulk, this length and this width. Well, you can't really do much, but it really makes it easy to maneuver. And again, coming back to that livability that the Cayenne has, you're not really compromising much. It's bigger than the Macan, but then some people need bigger cars. They need to have more space for their lifestyle activities, family, and so on.
I found, like, as a tall person, also a little bit more comfortable than the Macan. The Macan is already also, of course, it's a mid-size SUV, it's comfortable enough, but you do get a little bit more comfort in here in the Cayenne, even though it is like this super high-spec version. And probably this is like now the pinnacle of the Cayenne, probably from this generation as far as we will ever go in this generation, I guess.
No, this is really great, a great swan song to the Cayenne of this generation.
The all-new Porsche Macan is electric, and here on Autogefühl with Thomas in 4K, full screen, full length. Let's go with the Macan EV, all the details you need to know, and today we're also gonna drive it. The electric thunder from Stuttgart, Germany. In the front we can see this 4-dot design for the headlamps, and this is a papaya color here, so very colorful indeed. And one of the special features, which are really helpful actually, is already here in the front, because to open the front you just need to slide here underneath the Porsche logo, and then it opens super easy. Don't have to unlock anything. 80 liters is the front. You have a separate split here for, whatever, or maybe like here this emergency equipment also on. And the alternative would be, it's also quite nice, also looks beautiful when it's starting to rain, like with the drops on the car, even if it's not so pleasant for us, right? So here on the car key, you also have a separate button. We know it from Porsche, and it directly opens as well. And once again, no need to separately unlock it. This is, of course, very practical to store your charging cables then here. The length is 4.78 meters or 188 inches. So more or less the same size as before, a little bit longer. Wheels from 20 to 22 inch. These are the special largest 22-inch wheels, very impressive. And we'll check out later how it is in the driving comfort. This is the Macan Turbo as well, so best performance action. 3.3 seconds is the acceleration figure. The Macan 4, normal all-wheel drive model, would be 5.2 seconds. A rear-wheel drive version only is to come later, also shares the platform here with the Audi Q6 e-tron, recently also shown that to you. By the way, here we have these black wheel arches in the high gloss black. Standard would be that you have the more matte plastic crossover wheel arches. Well, now we had to find some shelter because that storm has been picking up massively. Oh my God, there's even hail coming. So yeah, short break and then we'll continue for you. So this area right here is where the Macan EV looks so different from the combustion engine model, which is, by the way, in Northern America, still available. Maybe 1 or 2 years or something, not for too long. In Europe, you can even not order the combustion engine anymore. So it's all about then the EV version here. Why is that, by the way? Because the combustion engine version does not comply with data security laws anymore. And it would have been too costly for Porsche, they say, to upgrade that. Audi has upgraded that with the Audi Q5, the sister model. Well, Porsche obviously did not. But so far, the first pre-orders for the Macan EV look very promising, they say actually. So we have to see if they can actually compensate for the lack of the combustion engine sales for them then. Porsche usually never touches the logo in its design form and the colors. However, here the turbo models now get this darkened out Porsche badge, so they allow that kind of now. And the top speed here for the Macan Turbo is 260 kilometers an hour or 160 miles an hour. That's even more than enough for the German Autobahn. However, you have to think about that the electric vehicles, when you drive them high speed, then of course the range will drop down significantly. The Macan 4, the normal all-wheel drive model, is, by the way, a little bit lower in the top speed. That one at 220 kilometers an hour or 140 miles an hour. And on the technology side, you also get an optional rear axle steering up to 5 degrees. It goes in the opposite direction in the front wheels, massively reducing the turning circle. And suspension technology-wise, the Turbo always comes with air suspension, adaptive air suspension, also gets stiffer in sport mode, softer than in the comfort mode. And on the Northern American market, this air suspension is always standard. In Europe, for example, the Macan 4 comes with the standard suspension, optional standard suspension with PASM, so it's an adaptive but not the air suspension yet. And the third step then is the air suspension. So it's always a market decision what they include in the standard equipment and what not actually. Then about battery and charging. 95 kilowatt hours net is this battery, and this will give us, to the first estimation, up to 500 kilometers, 300 miles of range. Of course, later on we'll test drive this one here, the Turbo also with its maximum peak of 640 horsepower, and then see about the realistic consumption figure. Recharging is a very cool thing actually here. Charging flap, this is here on the driver's side, and you just hold your hand there and then it opens as a sensor. 11 kilowatt AC charging, later also 22 kilowatt available. DC charging has a 270 kilowatt peak. And if you close the vehicle, by the way, also then here the charging flap closes again. 21 minutes, 10 to 80% state of charge. That's massive here, 800 volt architecture. So it's one of the quickest charging EVs out there. Standard also a second charging flap here on the passenger side. That's actually cool, and then also with the sensor here, and passenger side is then AC charging only, and only one charging flap can be opened at times, so you cannot open them both at the same time. And yeah, sometimes there were these questions, can I have even more charging power when I plug a cable in from both sides? That's unfortunately not possible. This electric charging flap here, by the way, is an option. Otherwise, it would be one that is having this standard opening like a normal fuel cap. And pretty cool always to see. You can extend the spoiler from the interior, that is possible, and also retract it again if you want to show off to your friends. Usually that's done automatically when the car is driving at the faster speed, that you have a little bit more downforce there in the rear. And should you wonder, is there actually really no possibility for a rear wiper? Well, there is one optionally available not just spec with this vehicle. Let's check out the turning indicators. Look at these here. They will actually, they don't replace the daytime running light. They're underneath. That's even more interesting, right? And then have you, for a split second, an 8-element design. So, pretty cool, right? In the rear, really slim, very long. I like that. So I really have to say, design-wise, all the little detail, all the little elements, I just love it. The only thing I have somewhat of a problem with is that this very short overhang, there I found the combustion engine a little bit more beautiful, like the combustion engine Macan. What do you think? The trunk here, 540 liter or 480 liters for the Macan Turbo. Now, why would a Macan Turbo has less trunk space? We'll find out right now. First of all, there are cool features for opening and closing. Here, first of all, you're like, where am I supposed to press here? You know that the Macan so far had here in the rear wiper, had this button here. Yeah, that's gone actually, but then the button is here. There's like the small camera, and then you have the button right here to press. So this is then possibility number one. And then to close it again right here. By the way, when it's raining, it's kind of like rinsing down here when there was a lot of rain. And then it's actually falling into the trunk here, the raindrops. So that happened actually right now. Oh, and here, by the way, the vehicle is also gathering water. So on the side of the front here, left and right each. That's a lot, right? So then, I also can check out the child safety. That's good, that's very sensitive indeed. So, and the second thing is, because they thought about how can we make opening and closing the boot even easier, and then they did some prototype testing, and sometimes maybe you have a DC cable you want to put on that side, but it's then on here, then when you're having like cable action underneath the vehicle, sometimes these swiping gestures, they make the trunk close on your head when you stand here, have your feet underneath there. So they said, we don't do any swiping gestures underneath. However, here the risk, of course, a little bit lower because you have 2 charging ports. But then anyway, they went here for a kicking sensor that you kick here, like where the sensor is also the exterior sensor. Then you kick here underneath. Now, you don't have to hit the car, of course. Then it opens. And then it has the second feature. So let's say you want to take out very heavy things, or maybe have like, you know, in both hands something, and then you want to go back again. Then you can kick it again. It's also supposed to have like a short sound coming. I mean, does it now? Let's see. No, maybe again. So let's see. So you kick it here. They heard the sound. And when you heard the sound, then you move away from the vehicle, and then the trunk is closing automatically. So you don't have to put the things away first, you know, maybe in the mud or something. And that's a very cool feature, actually. So yeah, they really thought about it. And yeah, maybe it's not about the charging cable, but to me it really happened a lot of times already that I was putting something in the trunk, like here, and my feet were underneath here, and then the swiping gesture was activated because my feet were underneath the trunk here, and I was doing like this, and then it closed on my head, like so. That's happening. Does not happen here for the Macan, because these sensor here also detect if you are standing there, and if you're standing here, the trunk will not close on you. Cool thing, right? The width here is easy 1 meter or 40 inches, and then the length here is about 90 centimeters or 35 inches. So we were talking about the Macan Turbo and why it has less liter of luggage space, and the secret revealing is here underneath, because you have some space underneath usually, unless you go for this Burmester sound system with the subwoofer, which is standard for the Turbo. So if you go for the Macan 4 but get the same sound system with the subwoofer, then again you also only get the 480 liters, because they count the liter figures from underneath. Folding the seats, you can do it from here, from the trunk. That's a cool thing, actually. There we go. That they really fold flat. So I did it now. You have to move the seats a little bit forward and then move them backward again. Otherwise, the rear bench would hit the forward seats. But overall, I think trunk-wise and so on, with these solutions, yeah, it's actually quite flexible. I like that. Oh, and by the way, about towing, first of all, here, this side panel is a little bit loose. So when I press this button here, the whole thing goes in. That's not that good. However, what is good, that here, when I press this one, There's a towing hook available even. It's like half automatic, I would say. And it can indeed tow up to 2 tons, which is already kind of significant for an electric vehicle. This is the key fob, beautiful. And also here is a different material than in the front. You can also get individualized ones in your vehicle color, by the way. And then the door closing sound is frameless, by the way, and dual insulation, both in the front and in the rear. Yeah, I would say it's okay. Considering it's frameless, it's still quite decent. Then inside of the doors, nice ambient lighting integration. Here in this case then carbon fiber inlets. However here, hard plastic without any felt covering, just a little bit rubber ground there. But come on, for this price, this needs to be covered in felt, I feel. Macan Turbo entry badge in the lower part. And in this case, an all black interior. I would say, take a seat, young Skywalker. Head restraint adjustment, by the way, here. Back and forth. So yeah, why not? It's an easy solution and also feels kind of stable. Cockpit clean, a lot of straight lines. Also nice ambient lighting integration here. 2 11-inch screens. The passenger screen on the right side is an option. And while driving can only be seen from the passenger. Soon more details to that. Curved instruments here. Yeah, the steering wheel does block always a part of it. And the steering wheel itself, sporty as we know it from Porsche. Also here with the darkened out Porsche logo here in the turbo. But I still have, for example, like a volume jog at the steering wheel. Also here this drive mode selector, easy to control for normal, sports and sport plus and so on. And then you have this flying middle console right here with more space underneath. Cup holders, adaptive, also with illumination. And my favorite, real climate unit, clicking sounds and so on. That's awesome. In the front, you slide open an inductive charging pad, which is also cooled. And if you want to charge with the cable, you could also put the cable like from the lower part to the upper part. There's a special hole for that. But yeah, when the inductive charging pad is cooled, it's actually also cool to use. You got that one? Okay, it was a little bit flat maybe. Then here, the middle armrest, put it up, even more space underneath. And the seating comfort in general is actually quite decent. The only catch is that here for the turbo, there's no alternative to animal skin. Whereas for the normal Macan, the Macan 4, there you also have a completely animal-free interior. Also with the animal-free steering wheel, and I would recommend that one. More animal friendly and also more comfortable because it adapts more to the body, the whole surface from that. Here, without the panoramic roof, with 189, 6'2", still leaves a lot of headroom left. And well, there is a panoramic roof available if you want one. And here's the gear selector, and look at that optional passenger screen. In park mode, I can also see it. When I put in drive mode, it's gone. But just for me, Leah could still see it from her perspective. Just not me. Here, when I'm in park mode again, it appears, disappears in driving, not to distract anyone. There you can see this effect coming over to the passenger side. Then there it is. The infotainment has this main menu, and especially exciting are always the driving selections here. So you can activate the electric sports on or deactivate it if you want this additional sound actuator. And here, yeah, that's what I did initially from the outside. Always fun to deploy the spoiler. Of course, it does it automatically at higher speeds. The head-up display appears quite large, also very crisp, but just in a very specific view angle. Like here, like this, it's super crisp, but when I just move a little bit more like downward or sidewards, it feels like it's kind of like blurry on one of the eyes, so you really need to hit the exact angle that it's sharp. So yeah, I've seen head-up displays which are more forgiving in the angle you're watching it. What I also like is here this manual volume jog in the central console. And seat heating is also in a separate field, but to have it, you see here, you move that whole thing here. But it's interesting that it's, let's see here, it moves as a complete button, and then this individual field is activated. Yeah, and high gloss black also collects a lot of scratches and fingerprints and so on, but yeah, as long as we have the metal knurling here, I'm still happy. Rear doors also frameless. Nice here from the build quality from the handles. However, then on the inside here, all hard pack. At that price point, doubtful in that very detail. Then, well, as I'm driving, It's not too much legroom left here, I have to say. The seats are quite voluminous. It works here for a tall adult to drive behind a tall adult, but considering it's an electric vehicle and they should use more of that space and the wheelbase is longer than in the standard Macan, I think there should be more legroom. Headroom is, however, no problem with 189 or 6'2". And well, the comfort from the base ergonomics here is also okay, but again, there's not much space here. So for the whole family and so on, maybe not ideal. Fold down this one here, then there are adaptive cup holders. That is very good from the build quality here, very solid and everything. This also, have you heard that? When you really like you're like on the boat and close something. And in the lower part, 2 USB-C chargers, and here, that is amazing once again, clicking sounds, metal knurling, climate unit also for the rear passengers. Launch control. Oop, that was 100, like 99. Whoa. Was that even 3 seconds? And that was even, yeah, you know that Porsche sometimes underestimates the acceleration figures. I think that's what happened here. I mean, that was
1
even,
second.
and then, yeah, it more felt like 2 seconds, like in a Macan Turbo GT or in a Model S Plaid. I mean, and this was even slightly uphill. Yeah, that's some crazy stuff, definitely. And you maybe also heard it. I turned this generated sound on. You know, feel that, hear that also. It's subtle, it's not too pronounced. You do have some kind of feedback. Yeah, the Lear meter also went off the scale for sure. Yeah, it's very extreme, especially for the passenger when you don't have like this combustion engine growling when you accelerate. So in the electric vehicles, it feels more extreme in a way. The combustion engines, like the sound is more extreme in a way, but then you also prepare your body for that a little bit better. But I mean, yeah, with the sound, you can turn it off at any stage if you like. It's also interesting that by standard it's deactivated, and then even when you switch the driving modes, it gets deactivated and then you turn it on or off again. So at the moment here it's off. In the Sport Plus mode I also have, oh my god, it's absolutely crazy how it accelerates out of the corner and it hooks to the road that well. Yeah, obviously you've seen we waited another day to get more better weather for this driving part here. It's absolutely crazy. So the big first question is, of course, how is it in comparison to the combustion engine model? And you know, I've driven all the version, Macan, Macan T, Macan S, Macan GTS, Macan Turbo, when it was still available. And you really have to say, just from a pure driving performance aspect here, especially the Macan Turbo, just tops everything in the Macan range. That's for sure. Yes, you might argue that the combustion engine sound then, after the 6-cylinder, is more emotional. Yes, that's also true. But from pure driving performance, how it hooks up to the road, how the power is distributed, how the performance is there, how quickly it goes out of the corners. I mean, is here like when you have a tight corner, you can basically pin down the pedal and accelerate out while you are still in the corner. And that's like, no, I mean, usually you decelerate into the corner, keep a steady speed, and then when it's going straight, you know, or about to get straight, you accelerate out. That's usually also performing on the racetrack. But here, you really feel that while you're still in the corner, you can just pin it down and it's there. It's absolutely, yeah, you see how crazy it is. So suspension is absolutely tuned on a sporty note. Do you notice that this is here an air suspension? Not at all, not a single bit. I mean, when I would take a seat in this vehicle, drive it, I don't know anything about the suspension specifics. Now also 2 Macans coming, they're doing car-to-car filming. So would anyone ask me what suspension is it? I would not say it's an air suspension because it's tuned so stiff. I really have to say though, is that the sense of an air suspension? I think rather not. The air suspension should give you more comfort. You have to know, if you seek also like a comfortable family SUV, not a good choice. If you seek the most dynamic, sportiest one in this segment here, just come for a standstill here because I want to give some space to the car in front of us that we can drive a little bit quicker again, because it happens so quick that we catch up to the vehicles in front of us. It's absolutely crazy. So if this car passed. So the thing is really, oh, there's a beautiful landscape here, southern France. This is sportiness, period. You know, the handling is incredible. So I really have to say, like, best EV SUV in the handling and also in performance. Wow, and at the same time, you are in control so much. Oh, that was interesting. I thought someone is behind me because the rear wing was going up and then the sun was reflecting in the rear wing, and I was thinking someone is giving me the the lights from the rear. I have to take that into account. Yeah, so you're in perfect control. It feels like a way shorter vehicle. I mean, we're here at 4.78 meters or 188 inches, and it feels like I would be driving a compact hatch, and that does not happen with the combustion engine Macan. At the same time, what's really interesting now is if you compare the combustion engine Macan to this one, due to the steering, the whole setup here, and you still get the Macan feeling. So if you drive slowly, you would say, yeah, you know, I'm driving a Macan. So you don't have to switch in a way when you are existing Macan ICE customer. It more or less feels the same, especially when you're driving a little bit calmer. But as soon as you accelerate it out and drive it in a more extreme way, it feels like a completely different vehicle and in a better performance sense, definitely. By the way, if we go away from that Sport Plus mode, go into the normal mode, of course the suspension is a little bit softer then, also the steering is a little bit softer. It does require some work always. It's really precise. I do personally like it. Leah already told me earlier she prefers it when the steering is a little bit softer, doesn't need so much force. I don't know if that's maybe a male thing or something, because I usually prefer it when, you know, it gives a little bit more feedback. Leah rather prefers it when it's easier to steer. So I found it really perfect. Also, you know, like how much degree angle I need. Here, for example, look at that. Now it's like almost 90 degrees. And the same way I turn the steering, that's what I really love. That's awesome. Wow. So that's really the thing. The performance is absolutely amazing. But then again, when you are not thinking of agile driving, when you're thinking of, hey, I want to drive it in everyday life, where I live, there are also some destroyed roads and so on. Yeah, this guy is always the only thing, I better leave this Macan pass. I have a parking spot here, watch that. So when you think about everyday driving, like here also over these humps, it's not sporty, it's stiff, it's rough. The suspension is rough, you know, and you know, there are always a lot of other, car journalists out there. When they drive a Porsche, they will only tell you it's the best thing ever, best, this is best, and they're all blown away by everything. But I already try to differentiate that you know what you're getting into. And like I said, the performance is absolutely astonishing, but I would not buy it when I also want to have something comfortable. Even here, the air suspension, it does not give you both. Some vehicles give you both sportiness and comfort. This one does not. It does not give you comfort. It gives you sportiness, definitely. And I mean, this is the normal mode. And wow, I mean, yeah, we recently drew. Oh, doggo. Okay, careful. That's Thomas dog mode. When I see a dog on the street, it's like full brake, maximum distance, silence. That's of course a little bit better here when I'm driving the electric vehicles, that we don't, annoy their ears, because they can hear that well. So here go back to the Sport Plus again. So even if the stability systems are drawn back here a little bit, it still gives you so much agility, you know. So I rarely had that I'm driving such a heavy vehicle and I felt so much in control all the time. Oh, a beautiful tree there as well. Wow. So now going downhill and talking about recuperation. There is not a strong recuperation when you lift your foot off the throttle. It's not their philosophy. So there's no one pedal driving at all. You do the recuperation with the brake pedal, period. That's, you know, how everything is set up here. Which is, again, I think my point, that they try to make the transition from the Macan combustion engine customer as easy as possible, because that, again, accounts for that feeling. You can switch from normal Macan to this one, and say like, yeah, it's still my Macan. But then you're definitely blown away by that performance. And I can already tell you right now, yes, the turbo is here the pinnacle, but this 5.2 seconds of the Macan 4 will definitely be enough. And yeah, I'm already in talks with the Porsche guys about that they also offer the animal-free interior for the Macan Turbo. And I guess they will change it at some point as well, because at this moment this would of course be a major reason also to go for the Macan 4, that you can also get this more comfortable animal-free interior. And of course care about the animal aspect as well. Also going downhill, because the weight now is pushing me in the corner, but still sometimes I have these electric vehicles where I think, yeah, it's enough of weight, come on. Yeah, here now maybe you feel, when it's getting tighter and then all the weight is pushing. But still, yeah, they're doing everything they can to counter that feeling. What else can you do for more comfort? These are here the 22-inch wheels. And you can stick with the 20-inch wheels, then you also gain more comfort. So at this moment, probably my best configuration would be a Macan 4, animal-free interior, 20-inch wheels, and then you still have comfort, because what I'm doing here right now is amazing to experience, but most customers of the Macan EV will 90% of the time not do this, but straight motorway, in the city and so on, and then the comfort aspect is even more important, and you still have enough of sportiness left then. Yeah. At the end of the driving part, by the way, because here topography changes are no problem for EVs as for the consumption, we'll also give you an extended update about our final concise test consumption for today. Pricing on the Northern American market, so the US, around $80,000 for the Macan 4, $105,000 for the Macan Turbo. German prices, European prices in euro. The standard Macan 4 at the moment, 85,000 euros, 115,000 euros here for the Macan Turbo. However, without extra equipment. The vehicle, as it stands here right now, 140,000 euros. That's of course super expensive. Yes, the performance in charging and so on, all the EV facts are actually very decent. However, you also have to think about what other vehicles you could get for a much, much lower price. But that's not specific to the Macan EV, but in general, of course, to Porsche. Yeah, and so quickly the weather can change from one day to another, actually. After driving, what could we score on our test loop, which included launch control, acceleration, a lot of topography changes. Of course, not an overall high-speed average. So longer way, motorway, German Autobahn, high speed, we will do at a later stage again with this vehicle. But on our test loop, which would be a test loop that we would have done with a combustion engine Macan, for example. Here we could score some 19 kilowatt hours on 100 kilometers, which is quite decent. That's 3.3 miles per kilowatt hour. And that means exactly the estimation figure from earlier, 500 kilometers or 300 miles of real world range. Yeah, I think you can live with that, considering also that battery size. A full driving review of the new Porsche Cayenne. Is it all new, an all new generation? Is it an extended facelift, something in between? We'll find out with Thomas and Autogefühl in 4K, full screen, full length. Let's go here with the new front design. And indeed, they changed the whole front hood. These parts here, more horizontal stress in the design, and new HD matrix headlamps. They're also mounted here. Of course, an option. And you have these daytime running light design in the top part, but another one here in the lower part. But here, you can see this is not just the upper one. The lower one is fixed. And this new blue color, also new now, called Montego Blue. It's pretty fancy and has this kind of this greenish nuance. Turning indicators in the front, pretty cool here in the lower part where it replaces the daytime running light. The length 4 meters 92 or 194 inches. This has remained the same. However, wheels now start at 20 inch and up to 22 inch wheels. Here the biggest ones available. We see it here on display. Then here vehicle color also at the wheel arch, and this lower part you can either get in the black contrast but also in vehicle color if you prefer that. Rear axle steering is optionally available. Then the rear wheels turn in the opposite direction than the front wheels. And suspension wise, they have reworked both suspensions, the base suspension and also the optional air suspension, giving you more comfort and sportiness at the same time. Is that true? We'll find out soon in driving. In the rear, new styling element that the light strip goes all the way across. That's beautiful. And also the three-dimensional Porsche lettering. That's pretty cool. And you might have seen that here, the lower area, the number plate is now here in the lower part, also in the SUV. So this is now very similar to the coupe version of the Cayenne. Both are of course still available. And now the rear looks, more or less alike. Here you can see with these black tips, these are the optional sports exhaust for that 6-cylinder. Turning indicators in the rear around the three-dimensional light strip. Let's now compare the Cayenne S and the Cayenne Coupe. We can see here this second horizontal element is missing at this vehicle. That's why it has the sport design package. Then you have this wider hole here. And indeed, it looks like something would be missing here. So I prefer the base version look there. This unique color here, by the way, is called Geisha Gray. But I think it neither has to do something with Geisha nor with gray. What's your take on that? This very vehicle is also equipped with the optional lightweight sports package. And that means you have the special 22-inch wheels, and even optional on top the PCCB, the Porsche ceramic composite brake. And you can now also get them, for example, with black brake calipers. Before it was only the yellow ones, but that way it also works. Looks pretty fancy indeed. Here, by the way, you can see these are the wheel arches that are not in vehicle color, so you can then pick the styling you want. This is an optional sticker you get here with some kind of retro look. And we have the coupe here, and that has this falling roof line right here, stronger shoulder formation. And when you look above, another part of this lightweight sports package is the carbon fiber roof. Yeah, that brings the center of gravity a little bit lower, but does that really matter in driving? Not really. And in the rear, you can see that lower graphic SUV and coupe are kind of similar now. Just this upper part there, you can see, of course, this flatter window right here. And the Cayenne S is now once again a V8. You can see it also here in the different exhaust pipes. I would say, let's do a sound comparison, V6 versus V8. So which one did you like better, the 3-liter V6 or here the 4-liter V8? Tell me in the comments. If you wonder, by the way, hey, wait a minute, the 6-cylinder sounded better. Might be a reason because the 6-cylinder has the sport exhaust, and this one here is the base exhaust for the V8. Engine lineup, all have received more power. The main engine, the 3-liter V6 for the base Cayenne, now with around 350 horsepower, 6 or 5.7 seconds. Then with the sports chrono package is the acceleration figure to 1 kilometers an hour or 62 miles an hour. A second quicker is the Cayenne S, which now again receives the V8 with around 470 horsepower. And based on that, even more 660 horsepower for the Cayenne Turbo GT, the strongest pure combustion engine model. Hybrids, either based on this one, the normal Cayenne hybrid, or then also future, even stronger hybrids. They are coming up very soon. We'll keep you updated. And should you wonder, what about the GTS? Yes, also coming up again. You'll see a review on Autogefühl in 2024. This is the key fob, yeah, always with this 911 silhouette, really beautiful. This is here for the independent heating, if you have that option. Then door closing sound. Really solid, I love that. And of course you can also get a soft close when you want to go for that option. Then inside of the doors, also once again with the horizontal stress, really good build quality indeed. Then for the interior you can get different stylings. Here for example we have a bright styling. This all animal skin. Alternatives would be Racetex microfiber on the inside or a Sportex in the special sports lightweight package, a fabric then with this retro look. So you have some possibilities, but not too much. So they didn't change anything there with the facelift. That is to me one of two disappointing things. The second disappointing thing will come very soon. Headroom here, no problem at all, although this is the one with the panoramic roof, so with 189 and 602, no problem. It's a very good and upright seating position. Ergonomics also nice, GT steering wheel here, and soon I'm going to show you the all-new cockpit. Here you can adjust it electronically. New interior layout, straight focus still, that's what I like, really clean. And then Taycan instruments, and here the 911 steering wheel, in this case the GT steering wheel. You can see it here with the screws. So a mix of Taycan and 911 now in the interior. And you have the central screen updated and optional also a passenger screen. And in front of these two Dachshounds, which is German Dackel, by the way, listen and repeat, Dackel, we show you the head-up display, which you can also adjust from this view to a more racy look or then the simplistic view. Digital instruments are adjustable. Here, for example, the middle part, assistance systems view, very impressive GPS view, wow, Austrian mountains, or also full screen. And then this is the night vision, and you can also switch to the right side what you want to have there and click through further to the left side. But sometimes you are not quite sure where you are at the moment in adjustment, so it's not that intuitive. However, I really love that we have real buttons at the steering wheel here, at the volume jog, or also here for the voice input, so something to press. And the physical drive mode selector at the steering wheel. The shifting lever is now here, like in the Taycan, drive or reverse. Has this metal knurling brown shaver atmosphere. Yeah, it is somewhat practical, but of course not really that sporty, you know what I mean? And of course, how can we miss that? The stopwatch. Middle console, slide this one open, charging via cable, USB-C or inductive charging. And then I really appreciate to still have a manual climate unit and with nice clicking sounds as well. Then we have here cup holders. You can also slide it forward or open it for more space. And if you wonder about fingerprints and scratches here, middle console, yes, definitely a problem. New infotainment system. You have either this home screen or this one. This has this app view, I would say, and everything has been reworked. This is the car internal GPS, which is well usable indeed. And of course you have the Apple CarPlay or the Android Auto. Integration looks like this, and the Burmester sound system, €6,000 extra, is actually pretty cool. Has like a true sound, so not too bass intensive indeed, and not too much surroundish. And here you can see when I switch the driving modes at the steering wheel, they also appear here, and then you can also set everything in the screen. The passenger screen cannot be seen from the left, only when you are at the passenger seat. Then you can actually see it. And for example, for doing GPS, but also the instruments of the drivers, G-force, yeah, very important in the Cayenne. And also video streaming is possible depending on the installed apps. They will offer more and more there. The panoramic roof, you can open this slider here, and this is also still one you can really open completely. Here, double action slider plus, and wow, it goes really wide like this. And then you can also move the slider totally to the rear. The slider here now via touch, and the middle part for the glass roof is still with physical feedback. Rear seating area in the Cayenne SUV. Really upright, these rear seats, you can see that already, and that also delivers you a good seating comfort. You have enough legroom here also for tall persons when other tall persons are driving, and rear headroom here to the side is kind of shallow. In the coupe they lower the bench a little bit, that the headroom is still guaranteed, and here you can adjust the back part of the seat. That is of course a cool feature. And also when you want to have more trunk, you slide forward here in a 2/3, 1/3 split. The middle seat, let's check it out. You can sit here. It's actually quite good for a 3-seater in the rear. This massive middle tunnel here, but you can actually easily get along with 5 tall adults. And in the middle part you have a nice console, and I really appreciate that it's not all just touch, but you also have here these nice knurled clicking buttons for the temperature control. Big microphone for you today, by the way, so you don't hear background noise. Then here, let's check out the trunk or the boot area. And the width is about 1.40 meters, a little bit longer, and also the standard length is 1.40 meters. And you can see you can fold the seats, but you have to go around, and then 2/3, 1/3 split. And the maximum height, 78 centimeters, which is around 30 centimeters. Actually very well usable here for a sports SUV. The coupe version, of course, is always a little bit limited here in this back area, but it's not a large compromise. Second interior, first of all, accentuations in neodyme. So this, I would say, slightly golden look. Looks pretty fancy, doesn't it? And this is also the Cayenne S with a lightweight sports package. That means we have the sport seats with the retro fabric on the inside. I think it looks pretty special, definitely reminding us of a retro 911. And also because the fabric surface is just softer, you have more comfort in these seats actually. And also the side support helps while driving, especially like slalom and so on. So this whole interior then feels a little more racy. This is, by the way, also a manual adjustment of the steering wheel. However, make no mistake, this vehicle here has even more coast-intensive options than the other interior. But overall pretty cool. And here we also feature an Alcantara steering wheel for even more grip. So this setup here overall is pretty cool. I would go for this one here. Special thing about the armrest, look at that. It so easily goes forward and backward in the European versions and also some other markets. The US version, by law, requires a special safety mechanism that it gets stuck and then you have to release it to press it forward. And that's also better for the US version, definitely, because we had situations where we were approaching a traffic light. And then imagine there's like a hot coffee paper cup here in the cup holders. And then you just have your arm here, have a little bit of G-force forward, and then this happens easily. So the Porsche guys told me that this has not changed for the facelift here, but I felt that it has never been that loose, so to speak. So yeah, either get the US version, then it's no problem at all. And other than that, I told the Porsche guys that I think that it needs to be, a little bit heavier in the movement. Rear seats of the Cayenne Coupe. Well, we also have the lightweight sports package seats here with a nice fabric. And this is then the setup with the single seats. So in the middle part, we have no seating possibility, but you can also get a through bench for the Coupe. And well, we have no panoramic roof in this case. And the roof is a little bit falling backwards. So yeah, it is a little bit limited in the headroom as for the Coupe, but not too much, because at the same time, they put the seat bench in the back part a little bit lower. So the seating angle is a little bit different. To me, you sit more comfortable, more upright in the normal SUV version, but still, it's totally fine here. So this trade-off for the Coupe look is, to me, totally okay. And now we have to talk about floor mats. Look at that here. The front floor mats, they have this knob, and that way they are secured, the floor mats here. But the rear floor mats now, see that? They don't have that. So the previous version had these clips in the rear floor mats, and I was wondering now, is this just cost savings? And I asked the Porsche managers about that, and they actually said no, the reason behind it is that customers actually went to the Porsche dealer, and then the Porsche dealers actually filed a report that a couple of times it happened that people tried to take out the floor mats and they were secured by the knob, and then they were ripping the floor mat apart together with the floor underneath it. Really? And that is the reason why they changed it, took out this secure mechanism here, and now it's just loose in there. But there's also like a slidable background of this one. So sometimes we ended up going out of the vehicle and the floor mat was like this all over the place, basically. So I don't know. I mean, first of all, who would rip the whole floor apart with the floor mat? I mean, can't you take out the floor mat properly? And secondly, if you change to this solution, then maybe at least make the background of the floor mat sticky or something, right? All right, Sport Plus. Let's accelerate it out. Let's see. Plop, that is already around 80 kilometers an hour. Wow, pretty impressive. And I was starting basically in the corner. That's also what the Cayenne is standing for. It is an SUV, but it feels like a sports car. At the same time, it is very well controllable. All-wheel drive has a rear-wheel bias, and all the engines have been upgraded. As for the power, here around 350 horsepower for the base Cayenne 6-cylinder, 3-liter 6-cylinder. Around 6 seconds is the acceleration figure, the official one, to 1 kilometers an hour or 62 miles an hour, and yeah, kinda also reached that indeed. They have also worked on the suspension, both the base suspension and also the optional air suspension, which we have here. And they promise actually that it's sportier and more comfortable at the same time. And It also switches then according to the driving mode. Here, for example, Sport or Sport Plus. It's a little bit stiffer. Also, it goes lower at higher speeds, and I can also switch then back again to the normal mode. And then we have a little bit more comfort, but actually all the different modes are really fine. And indeed, I have to say, we also have big wheels mounted here today, but even if you run over some potholes and so on, it's not uncomfortable at all. You have this upright command driving position, and the suspension is really doing a good job. If you ask yourself, base suspension or air suspension, of course the air suspension offers you more flexibility and variety from comfort to sportiness, but the base suspension will also do fine. So the problem with the Cayenne is that it easily gets too expensive with all the different options. At the end of this review, we'll also talk about the very concise price of this very vehicle. But indeed, I mean, the ride before, in the pre-facelift, was already superb. But here, even a notch more comfort and a notch more sportiness, yes, they have achieved that indeed. And also noise insulation-wise, so silent in here. At the moment, around 70 kilometers an hour, now going like 80 kilometers an hour. It's like 50 miles an hour. And it's super silent. You don't hear any rolling noise, no wind noise, nothing at all. So I really fine-tuned this vehicle. And sometimes it is good when they don't do like an all new generation, but really fine-tune an existing one. However, this extensive facelift here, what feeling do you get? Yes, it doesn't feel like a completely new vehicle, but it really feels even more refined. So if you have an existing Porsche Cayenne, I wouldn't necessarily say that it feels so different that you definitely need the newest one, because the existing one is already fine. But when you step into the Cayenne world now, even a notch more, smoothness, sportiness and comfort at the same time. If you like these digital instruments, like this full digitalization of the cockpit now, that is of course a matter of preference. Everything is more digitalized now, but I'm happy that we still, for example, have the manual climate controls here in the center knob, central control console. So while driving, I can still control that. And also while driving, to me, it's really important that I can change the driving modes directly at the steering wheel. With so many new modern vehicles, we are distracted picking something in the infotainment system while driving. At least for the driving mode, this remains really, really straightforward and simple. And what I also want to show you here, the rear axle steering, turning all the way in, and for such a large SUV, it really handles very well because the rear wheels go in the opposite direction than the front wheels, and to get to speed again, also so effortless indeed. So I feel that this new Cayenne, and we can say new Cayenne indeed, is just smoother. And one more time, 50 to 100. Plop, that's it already. And here you feel the good handling. Yes, of course, you sit higher, but you hardly feel it's an SUV. Also good side support from the seat. And I really like the precise steering input. So hardly any other SUV gives you such a good handling balance feeling, and there's no dead zone area from the steering, and you exactly know what you're doing. You have a great feedback from the tires, from the road. That's also what you expect when you get a Porsche. Well, for me, it would actually be the main reason. And the cool thing that you still have it in their big SUV. At the same time, when it's city time here, you go back to the normal driving mode, suspension goes softer again, and you just relax and enjoy the comfort. The seats, by the way, from the material also, and the skin pretty stiff, so the seat ergonomics, what's underneath the seat is good. Top part, you have always more comfort when you go for the race text, the microfiber, or for the sport text, the fabric seats. So by that, you can not only do something for the animals, but also increase your seating comfort. And here, once again, also when you're in a normal driving mode and accelerate it out, when you pin it down, you also get the full power. And you can always watch your passengers going like, oh, whoa. Yeah. You always have to watch out. Stuff happens like that. And now, guys, the V8 in the Cayenne S. Der hat aber ordentlich Druck, Alter, would we say in German. As in, that one has, you know, a lot of pressure, yo. Der hat aber ordentlich Druck, Alter. Listen and repeat. Yeah, and this is like a second quicker in the acceleration figure to 1 kilometers or 62 miles an hour than the V6, the upgraded one. And of course, sound-wise, yeah, we had the sport exhaust in the V6, which sounded nice indeed, but here you have a little bit more, I would say, raw sound, can you call it that way? And also some really nice winding corners here. Wow, although it's a heavy SUV, it gets out of the corner really quickly and super precise. Here, once again, the handling, the Alcantara steering is also helping me with that. And then the sport seat with the fabric, I don't slide on that so much. So this is a overall sportier setup we have here. Wow, so much fun. That is really the thing about this Cayenne. You can have so much driving, sporty driving fun, although it is the large and heavy SUV, and it can also be comfortable at any time. You know, that's the real cool thing. Some other, yeah, we are also giving in the colleagues a nice shot here, passing by. Beautiful roads here also. This is so much fun. Also is not leaning into the corner at all. If you ask me V6 versus V8, yes, of course, sticking with the opinion that the V6 is enough. The V8 just delivers a little bit more raw sound experience. Yes, even a little bit quicker. Yeah, then the weight, I wouldn't say that you really feel the big weight difference or so, you know, that's not the thing. Of course, also price-wise, it goes higher, but you will also see at our final pricing result, the price of the Cayenne is really varying so much depending on the picked options. So which engine you go for is not the main thing. It's really about the individual options you pick. And here you have to say, when you go for the sportier seats and the sportier steering wheel, for example, that already makes a massive difference in driving. Driving modes here, same, I can also go to the normal mode. We have a little bit softer feedback, also once again here from the air suspension. Yeah, just the Alcantara steering wheel is so great. All the steering wheels are, by the way, pretty thin. I like that. Thomas B, cameraman, he more prefers a little bit thicker steering wheels. Talked about that earlier, but I think it really helps you here in very precise driving. And you know, when you're passing some houses and so on, normal driving mode, keeping it also a little bit more silent. When you're more than again on the open road, you can go to a sportier mode and then accelerate it out. Wow, so flawless overall. And the S driving feeling is of course different here now with this V8 once again. So goodbye for the 2.9 liter 6-cylinder bi-turbo. That will not be here anymore. It won't come back. It is a combination, you know, like emission things and also the power you can get out of this one. So they decided to now once again go upsizing here with the V8, and yeah, fun-wise, definitely nice. So one more good shots here for the other camera team. Consumption-wise, of course, the thing is that the 8-cylinder will consume more fuel, so definitely have to calculate with that. The 6-cylinder is overall the more logical, more economic choice without compromising on fun. But of course, you've experienced it here. The V8 does deliver something special, no doubt. Pricing this very vehicle around 90,000 euros base price, but then 50,000 euros of extra, so 140k in total. And the price here for our Bentley Cayenne S, 67,000 euros of extra equipment, making a total price of 180,000 euros. So is it now all new or is it a facelift? It's a very extensive facelift indeed, and just the side doors, they have remained the same. Most of the other things have been replaced indeed, and they want to make it fit for the next years actually. In 2025 we will present to you the all-new electric Cayenne, and then these two, the combustion and the electric Cayenne, will run parallel for a couple of years. That's why they reworked it now so intensively. Porsche designers, how much attention shall we pay to the wheel design? project leader? Yes. Welcome here to the Porsche Macan facelift, the last hurrah for the Macan. The last time we will see it with a combustion engine. Today the Macan S, later also the Macan GTS here to come on our channel. This one here already more powerful. All the changes now with Thomas and Autogefühl. Let's go. By the way, if someone puts my first remark, like my first two sentences, as a comment, it might be the highest ranking one. Just a tip from me. Here the front of the Macan facelift, you can see the lower bumper has been altered a little bit, depending also on the model. The GTS will look a little bit more sinister. Then huge opening right here, LED standard, already with this dynamic light function. This one here is called deep black, this color here. Yeah, and even more screaming out wheels to come. This is also new, this kind of stamped in structure than here for the front design. A little bit more overhang now on the redesign, 4 meters 73 or 186 inches. And here the Macan S automatically comes with 20-inch wheels. 19 would be the standard one for the base model. And then 21-inch wheels optional. You can also see them here in the obvious golden color. Wow, that looks really massive in contrast here to the deep black metallic look. And well, here we have the optional carbon ceramic brakes, but then yellow brake calipers with golden wheels. Nah. Or what's your take on that? Tell me, tell me yours in the comments. Then the typical round Macan design, Porsche strong shoulders right here. And suspension-wise, the base model starts with a normal suspension, then optional or standard for the S model, the PASM, the active suspension management means the adaptive suspension, and then optional or standard for the GTS, the air suspension, but with a sporty note. And we also have it here today. A very clean and cool look here for the rear, light strip going all the way through, and even more impressive when you open it up in the morning in the basement garage or something. Yeah, that's fancy. Optional sports exhaust here mounted, and then the diffuser style already for the Macan S, and again this stamped in styling right here. And power wise or acceleration wise, zoom more to the engines, 4.6 seconds is the acceleration figure here then to 1 kilometers or 62 miles an hour, and 4.3 with the GTS. So essentially now the S is what the GTS was before, and the GTS is now what the Turbo was before. So everything upgraded, but then goodbye to the Turbo. So cool always how that hood opens, like here, they cut in for the headlamps. Then you have a very clean look here today on the Macan S, now already with the 2.9 liter V6 bi-turbo. Before that only the GTS had that. Here now with 380 horsepower, 20 horsepower upgrade. In the GTS even a 60 horsepower upgrade to 440 horsepower with the very same engine. That's then the top of the lineup. And as a base, the known 2 liter 4-cylinder engine, but now also with the horsepower upgrade, 265 horsepower. Yeah, you know, in 2023 there will be the all-new Macan on the all-new electric platform. But then this one will still be built on this old platform. Well, it doesn't have to be a bad thing, because here you still know what you get. That's why we are here today. I think you'll never guess the full price of holding this key in your hand. Try it now in the comments. How much is this car actually as it stands here right now with all the extras included and so on? Take your guess now, and later on I will show you the full extra list, and you won't believe. Door closing sound. Solid. Inside of the door here today with a nice carbon fiber insert and the bright styling. You can, by the way, also get the fabric leatherette mix for the base seats in 3 different colors, in gray, beige or black. These here are the optional animal skin seats, and here this is also the optional sport seat, which has, you know, some more shoulder accentuations. It's not really needed. The base seat will also do just fine and just gives you more possibilities actually. Then the steering wheel, rather classic one, and great to have the drive selector here still in that place. And I can't believe that this vehicle, and also the price we'll show later to you here, with the key it's really nice, but then there's no keyless entry function. You always have to press it open manually, and then you also have to put it in here. It has some kind of cool thing, you know, and heritage and so on, but still, you know, no keyless entry, nor for the door, neither for starting up the car. Really? Inside, comfortable seating position here, so already feels like a grown-up SUV indeed. Steering control is here electric, in and out, up and down, takes a while. And heated steering wheel is also an option. It's right here behind that steering wheel, so hidden place. And 1m86, 6'1", no problem. As for the headroom, really nice and clean design, everything wrapped tightly, typical Porsche design. And also when you go for the animal-free seats, you can get, for example, beige in the lower part and black on the top part that it doesn't reflect, you know, similar styling to this one. New 10.9-inch screen. This one is now an update, also with the newer software. Zoom into the details of that. Of course, it gets a little bit more complicated then, but looks cleaner. And then here in the middle console, what have they done there? Yes, they kept the normal climate dials. Gladly they did that. However, rest has been made rather buttonless and then more capacitive buttons. However, they are actually quite big and clear. So as for capacitive buttons, it's quite good. And also this new shifting lever here, which is giving you a very analog and, you know, crisp and, you know, old school feedback. I like that actually. Adaptive cup holders here, an armrest and with two USB-C chargers underneath them now. And the steering wheel still classic way. Love that they have this drive mode selector right there. Instruments, yes, still the analog stuff with a small digital speed meter. And on the right side, you can then adjust some things here on this, you know, for example, also have the map in there. That's all we need actually. That's totally fine. So why not? And fuel economy, I can already tell you right now, yeah, some 11 liters, 1 kilometers you have to calculate with, so some 20 mpg. Here we go with the infotainment system. See here, GPS map is not that responsive, takes a long time to load and so on, but it looks actually quite fancy, and also the glass feels, you know, really cool and soft. Apple CarPlay integration looks like this. You can still have, you know, something at the side then, for example. And let's listen to that sound here. We have the Bose sound system, which is giving, yeah, a very typical Bose sound, which sounds, let's say, you know, not too bass heavy, but really clear, but not too exaggerated. So I like this, you know, Bose gives this kind of, you know, like, yeah, special standard Bose sound. It's really hard to describe. Well, in the rear, it, yeah, you know, hardly fits exactly maybe when the driver would be a little bit shorter. Headroom is no problem, but legroom wise, yeah, this is kind of hit and miss with the Macan. It's somewhat okay for 4 tall adults, but just okay. The seating position itself is actually quite good if there just would be a little more legroom, right? Now to USB-C chargers here in the rear, still a climate unit, and then these cup holders here are also adaptive. That's nice. And from here we can also see this nice microfiber headliner. And by the way, oh, this light here is one of the highlights indeed. Especially looks cool at night. Yeah, but that's the only thing, because otherwise there's no real ambient lighting. Classic Macan trunk opening right there. Still a nice solution. And then here the normal length is a little bit less than 1 meter or 40 inches. And the width is a little bit more than 1 meter or 40 inches. That's actually good. So here, cabin trolley easily to be fitted in right there, and you fold the seats from the rear seats and then also 1-1-1, so you don't have a 40-60 split. You can also fold this one here individually. What was your price guess? Here the Macan S starts at 70,000 euros, for example, and then here air suspension as an option, 2,400 euros for the extra sports exhaust, 8,000 euros for the carbon ceramic brakes, and it continues. And here we go. Rear view camera, that's at least in US. Adaptive sport seats, yeah, you shouldn't go for them because then it's only animal. And then, what the hell? Really? 112,000 euros or dollars? Yeah, I mean, so many awesome things we've already seen up to this point, but 112,000 euros? Well, does the driving agility justify that price? Let's find out. Welcome to Thomas's Performance Driving Lounge here with the Porsche Macan S in the updated facelift version. So this one essentially now the power of a GTS, and we'll see how that brings this new 2.9 liter V6, or newly in the S version, up to speed from 40 kilometers an hour on the German motorway. Let's go. Plop, that's 200 kilometers an hour, 125 miles an hour. very smooth acceleration. You maybe also saw the all-wheel drive distribution if you are watching this on a big TV screen or something. And this one here equipped with the optional air suspension, but here tuned on a stiffer note in the Sports Plus mode. I said here on the steering wheel, and wow, this feels so agile for an SUV. See here, the suspension is not shaking up at all. At the same time, the air suspension does deliver comfort, so that's very good. And bear in mind that we have the 21-inch wheels on this vehicle. So although these are the big wheels, the ride is really good and comfortable still. So sportiest mode here, 21-inch wheels, and this is the key of the air suspension. So you can set it on a stiffer note in the comfort mode or the normal mode, then it's a little bit softer. But this air suspension really delivers a great compromise between sportiness and comfort. And this is to me also different to what Mercedes does than in the AMG air suspensions. They tune it to such a stiff note that you don't feel it's an air suspension anymore. But here actually it still does a great job. Also upright seating position, so you have a comfortable seating position overall. And you have these compact sizes, you know, so the SUV is not too big. So it feels very good in the handling, and yes, it is an old platform, we know that. But on the other hand, it's very well developed. And I always say it's usually better to buy a vehicle that is not that new, because things have gone wrong before. And so if the vehicle is on the market for a longer time already, there are less mistakes. Best example, VW Golf 7.5 versus the 8. Get a 7.5, you can still get one. Trust me on this. Yeah. But here, really very nice. Also in normal mode, when you hit the throttle, good acceleration. So definitely so much more power than before. 4.6 seconds with the Sports Chrono package we have also in this vehicle. Yeah, and that's of course for an SUV really, really good in performance. Very precise from that steering wheel. Look at that. I mean, lane change, every single lane change is so much fun. And you do sit upright, but at the same time you think like, wait a minute, this is a sports car and this should be lower. You know, your brain is like, yeah, this behaves like a sports car and it steers like a sports car, but why am I sitting that high? It's like, what's wrong here? And there's also a reason why the Porsche Macan is the most successful Porsche model of, I think also of all times. I mean, current highest sales, of course, yes. And especially also, true Porsche fans will hate this, but the Porsche Macan 4-cylinder is the most important Porsche model in the world. Yeah, that's just the thing. And people buy it because they get the Porsche experience without lower back pain. And the same accounts for me. I sit terribly in a Porsche 911. I just have to say it over and over again. I don't think it's comfortable at all. Others might disagree and find the 911 comfortable. It's good for you. I'm really happy for you if you find that. But to me, it's not. And the Macan or the Cayenne, they are. And that's the reason why Porsche is, for example, in China known as an SUV brand. And the SUVs are sold way more than their sports cars, meanwhile. Very nice from that all-wheel drive distribution, showing us that we have a rear-wheel bias from that all-wheel drive. And the more I hit the throttle, I did concentrate on the road when I did the first acceleration, but you've maybe seen it. So the more I hit the throttle, the more power is also transported then to the front wheels. Sorry, Thomas, I didn't quite get what you mean by that. Like this. So really nice from the performance, and this could be racetrack anytime. Here of course at 200 kilometers an hour, 125 miles an hour, the wind has picked up as for the wind noise, so but overall it's relatively silent here. Let's bring it to a normal motorway speed. Yeah, here at 106. Nah, that's yeah, I know. That's normal German motorway speed. Sorry for that. Okay, let's bring it to worldwide normal motorway speed. Yeah, that's like 130 kilometers an hour now. So yeah, you got me totally with that. So like 70, 80 miles an hour, and this here is reasonably silent. That would be a good cruising speed, and you can set the cruise control. Not the most sophisticated one, but it has also the the distance sensor. There's not much with lane keeping assist and so on. So this one is rather classic. This is rather an old school vehicle, if you want it that way in comparison. But to me, that's not a bad thing. So this car feels here more analog than a lot of others. Just some digital displays right there. Yes, they have the updated infotainment system here now, but big analog meter and so on. And yeah, just as analog as I need it, actually, as a car enthusiast. Or what do you say? So I really have to say I'm so much into new technology that improves safety and also comfort and everything. But some things just need to be analog in a car, doesn't it? And now agile driving up the hill, Autogefühl's peak. Let's see about the steering precision here once again. You have good resistance in the steering wheel, so it's not that you have these typical new steerings which feel like steering through thin air. This is really rather natural feeling. It could maybe be a little bit more progressive, but it's still, of course, really nice and very precise. In every degree area something is happening. Then these rather short dimensions of the Macan, which really help in the corners. Here you can set to the normal mode back again. Then the exhaust note is also more silent. When we pass these houses here and don't want to annoy them while they're... Oh, there's the so-called Deutsche Heilige Mittagsruhe. It's like the holy noon break from 13 to 15, like from 1 to 3 o'clock p.m. And you're not allowed to mow the lawn outside then, for example. Yeah, German habits. But then, when we're outside the houses, nice. Lovely. And also like plop crackles from the exhaust. Now the hairpin bend is coming. Let's see. I hope no one is... again, someone is parking there, but I think I can still test it. Yes. Really nice. Such a smooth and sporty driving experience. Definitely, with that facelift, still one of the sportiest SUVs out there. And of course, with this power upgrade, even more powerful than before. Run, Forest, run for the Porsche Macan T, a new unique model in the Macan lineup. Porsche wants to put a four-cylinder Macan model in a sporty, unique direction. Does that work? Four-cylinder to be one of the most unique models? But maybe it does. It worked for the Boxster T so far, for example, for the 718 models. And here now, the Macan T gets grey accentuations right here as a special unique color. This review here also about the facelift of the Macan. First time we have the four-cylinder facelift here, so all the details you need to know about that. Papaya is the color for today. New graphic element here, also with this kind of three-dimensional stamping in the front. So a very interesting approach already visually wise, and the four-cylinder is a little bit lighter on the front axle. Well, we'll try out. Here, it's Thomas and Autogefühl. We'll drive up the Col de Torini. This is kind of like the King's Stage on the Rally Monte Carlo. And we'll find out how agile this Macan T is. 4.73 meters or 186 inches is the length of the Macan. And you can see here the Macan T gets new interesting accentuations. It starts with 20-inch wheels. We can also see them here. The reason they don't look so large is this vehicle here is still equipped with winter tires. Optional, you can even get 21-inch wheels, and again with summer tires it looks even bigger then. Then also great contrast here for the side mirrors, and also in the lower area right here with the papaya color here today. It's a very interesting orange-alike color. It has a very unique combination. However, if you pick a bright color like a white, for example, these contrasts will of course appear even stronger maybe than the typical Porsche styling here towards the hip area. Suspension wise, this one here comes with a sportier suspension, the PASM, Porsche Active Suspension Management, minus 50 millimeters, but you can also optionally on that get the air suspension, which is then even 10 millimeters lower. So on the one hand, maybe more comfort with the air suspension, on the other hand, with the even sportier setup. These two choices you have. Top speed, by the way, 230 kilometers an hour or 140 miles an hour. So even though it's 4-cylinder, it goes really fast. Have you seen here the white brake calipers? They not only add a very interesting contrast, especially here to the gray alloys, they also indicate a special brake, because these here are the optional PSCB, Porsche Surface Coated Brakes. Tungsten carbide surface that reduces brake dust, so it's even basically environmentally better, and also better braking performance. Unlike the PCCB, that's the Porsche ceramic composite brake, the even more expensive ceramic brakes also available for the Macan. And huge price difference, ceramic brakes towards 10,000 euros or dollars, these here around 3,000, 3,500. In the rear, the facelift recently introduced this new light signature and still goes all the way through. Really impressive, super clean look as well, Macan T logo. And the T also adds these gray elements here as a contrast in the top part, for example. And the lower part also gets a new look here with this, yeah, it's kind of like a three-dimensional stamped in, and although it's only the 4-cylinder, well, it's like one pipe per cylinder, and these are the real thing. Always spectacular how the hood opens and how the lamps are cut out here. Really cool. And here we go. This is a 2-liter 4-cylinder engine, 265 horsepower, 6.2 seconds in the acceleration figure. Unlike the 2.9-liter 6-cylinder then for the Macan S and GTS. But the strange thing is here, okay, why didn't they boost the power a little bit for the Macan T version? Because it's the same power figure than the normal Macan 4-cylinder. I would have expected some 300 horsepower here, like in a, you know, like in a Leon or in a just VW Golf R or something. They could have boosted the horsepower. I think it would have been a clever choice to differentiate the T model a little bit more. However, one advantage here for the 4-cylinder towards the 6-cylinder, this one here, 60 kilograms less of weight on the front axle. That could have a good effect on the driving agility. And some other color choices for you. This one here is Gentian Blue, Enzian Blau in German. Yeah, pretty nice Thomas Blue color, isn't it? Or what about the pure white vehicle here, where once again you see these gray contrasts a little bit stronger. This one, by the way, here, the standard white without any extra price. This is the car key with a typical Porsche form, nicely done, really light. You can get keyless entry. This car, however, does not have it. Then, door closing sound is actually quite good, not excellent, not bad at all. Then here inside of the doors is rather hard on top. It's not entirely hard, but almost hard. Here's a little bit softer for your elbow, but also this is quite stiff, so it should be a little bit plusher, I think, actually. Then we also have the Bose sound system here. This is a nice option for music lovers. Then the Macan T has these special entry badges, kind of like, you know, dark brushed style with the T. Maybe Macan T, Macan Thomas, I don't know. Then you can also get the Race Tech steering wheel. You know, the microfiber is called Race Tech now since a while for Porsche. It's of course the way to go. I just love it. Great grip both in summer and winter time. That's really lovely. And still can be combined with that heated steering wheel function that is here behind, you know, hidden behind here. And then the seats, sport seats with more shoulder support, and in the Macan T with fabric inserts, also here with these contrast stripes. Looks really cool. However, the outside, this is still animal skin, kind of unnecessary that they did that. But let's check out the comfort. Oh, that's nice vintage car sound. Oh, look at that beamer there. Look at that. You see it? Do you see it? Wow, that's cool. Wow. I think there's a feature of that on Autogefühl about, you know, this is the car that Elvis owned, actually. Have you seen that? Wow. That's awesome. So I will link the video to the Elvis car special. And now back to our Macan T. So the seating position here, since you have more shoulder support, it has good comfort indeed, because it takes off weight from your lumbar area. So and also the fabric insert here is really superior to the full animal skin setup, because this one here stays breathable in summertime and it's also not cold in winter. So in this case then really good. The key is still put here in the left part, classic, and then you also really turn it around for the ignition and so on. Steering wheel here with the manual control, up and down, in and out. And we also have these classic Porsche gauges where the RPM meter is analog and the central of the whole thing. Only on the right side you have a screen then. You can, for example, also have a map display in there. And I think that's actually a good mix of digital and analog. Interior overview always with this wrapped tight look. Horizontal stress, new infotainment system soon deals to that. Then also big shifting lever here with microfiber. Also newly designed middle console. And that race tech steering wheel, really cool. Left side for the volume control, right side for the instrument control. And always to have the drive mode selector on the steering wheel. That's a good thing to have, so easily changing the driving modes then while driving. And the sports chrono clock. Well, and if you really closely monitor the time in different shots, that will maybe discover that we don't always shoot everything in the chronological order. Maybe someone took a look at it. Infotainment system 10.9 inch for the Macan facelift now. The car internal GPS looks like this. Not that responsive, of course. It is usable. We're here near the Nice area today. Beautiful in the southern France area. So the thing is, you can use this infotainment system, but most of the time probably will also use Apple CarPlay. Not Android Auto, because Apple CarPlay is the only thing that works here. You see here the integration that is actually quite slim. It's not full screen. Android Auto, by the way, available for Taycan, Panamera and Cayenne in the most recent iterations then. And the sound system here, the Bose sound system, is actually quite cool. So nice sound, to be recommended. Besides touch, by the way, you can also use a knob to navigate in the CarPlay, and this is here on the right side. So this would be like a like an MMI controller here. And when you are in the car internal map, then this is actually for the zoom. It's actually quite cool. I like still to have these real physical buttons here on the left side then for the volume. Some decluttering for the facelift here, but we still have this metal knurled control center for the climate. This is actually quite decent. But then here, these capacitive buttons here, also for example for suspension, you can see here, my fingers are not especially greasy, but this is a surface where you can like see fingerprints all over the place indeed. Cup holders, adaptive, that's good. And then here, that's how you attach an armrest. This is really like, you cannot shake it at all. Good perceived quality. Then here, USB-C chargers, 1 and 2. And inductive charging would be putting your smartphone here and then face the screen to the outside, not the most practical solution. Rear seating area, you also have the sporty fabric inserts with the stripes. That's actually quite cool. You do see you have a large middle tunnel. Now with the facelift, also 2 USB-C chargers. And then let's take a look. What about the legroom? Well, I have the seat as I would be driving, and that gets very close. It does fit for 4 tall adults, but it gets really close. So legroom is not the specialty of the Macan. We also have this vehicle here equipped with the very nice race text ceiling here. That's actually cool. And some headroom left. There's also an optional panoramic roof available. Seating comfort in the rear is actually quite decent. So it's actually good. I mean, the bolstering is stiff, but still, you know, it's very comfortable indeed. As for adjustment of the seat, there's nothing to be done here besides then, you know, folding it here. There are also no different angles or something available. Here in the middle part, you can fold that one down for adaptive cup holders. Once again, nice build quality. You can also use this one here as a ski edge. And then, well, in that middle console here, well, sitting on the middle part is kind of tough. That will get close with with the legs and so on, but it is theoretically possible also for 5 tall adults. But then again, big middle tunnel and so on. Always a highlight to open the Macan trunk here from the outside with this button right there. It's just a nice idea, I think. And then the length of that trunk is a little bit less than 1 meter or 40 inches. The width is exactly 1 meter or 40 inches, and the height to the cover is about 50 centimeters or almost 20 inches. You see here the backpack also fits in easily, and you can fold the seats 1/3, 2/3 split, or with that ski hatch, and the total length then is 1 meters 70 plus or 67 inches plus. Welcome to Thomas's active driving lounge, and we put here to the Sports Plus mode and going up the Col de Torini. So this is the most favorite or most famous stage of the Rally Monte Carlo. Tour de France was also here, so a little bit slower of course, but here we use it today for the Macan T. See if that 4-cylinder even got it, although it's just 4 cylinders, but we have less weight on the front axle, and they also changed the suspension setup here, stiffer suspension. In this case we have the air suspension, which is even a little bit lower, even more in the sports mode, so it goes even lower then. And also the all-wheel drive distribution, it already has a rear wheel bias, but here in the Macan T it is even more rear wheel bias. I can also see it here in the distribution that I have always more power on the rear wheels, and that definitely helps us to get out of the corners. And here going uphill, of course, that's a special thing to check then with the corners. Great steering, super direct, a little bit screaming of the tires here. Wow, that feels so nicely. Such a great handling of that SUV. I don't even feel we're like boosted up in any way or something. Really feels like a low-sitting sports car. Race tech steering wheel with the microfiber surface here. That is awesome. Wow, this has such a balanced handling. So from the pure handling and the weight distribution, front, rear, and wow, I mean, it is air suspension here in this case, so you do have comfort also over some bumps. At the same time, it's actually, yeah, I mean, it's sporty and comfortable at the same time. So this is also a good thing then here with that optional air suspension. The PASM will also do fine, of course, but here you have more possibilities to make it more comfortable in the comfort mode and sportier than in the sports mode. And wow, this is so much fun. This goes up the hill so smooth, really nice. Of course, here you hear the engine is working. We only have the 4-cylinder power. Again, it's good for the handling and for the weight, but when I want to be really on the gas, sometimes I think, yeah, maybe the power from the 6-cylinder could do a little bit better to be a little bit more spontaneous. Yeah, but I mean, it is good performance, no doubt about that. Sound, of course, is something we are missing. So you might have thinking, maybe they could have done some sound emulation or something. That would have been something. Sport Plus mode, by the way, also the stability control is being drawn back, so I can play a little bit more around with that vehicle. Wow, I'm having so much fun going up here, these windy corners. Wow, what a landscape here now. We're getting higher and higher. The peak will be soon at 1,600 meters. That's about 5,200 feet. So quite a bit of elevation here. Air gets thinner. That also has a toll on the engine performance, of course, you know that. So the thinner the air, the higher it goes up. It's always a thing, like in racing, of course, when you're racing in high altitude. And yeah, I mean, a lot of legends have gone up this hill. Walter Röhrl, of course, Colin McRae, Sebastian Loeb, Sebastian Ogier, and so on. And I mean, it's crazy. I already feel that we would be going really fast here, but they are actually going up this hill like, double or triple the speed at least. And that's absolutely crazy how narrow that is here. Yeah, come on. That performance then here from that engine. Wow. And still, I mean, suspension is so well thought out. I don't feel it's a bad choice to make it a little bit stiffer here in this case. Sometimes the stiff sport suspensions are just annoying because they're too stiff. Here in the sports mode especially, of course, it is stiffer than even in a normal mode, but you can still do so much things with that vehicle. A little bit of the tire scream. Now nicely done. More rear drive than from the front, and that really pushes me out of the corners. That is so cool. Lovely, just absolutely lovely. Little bit of sliding around in the rear, so that is even possible with that 4-cylinder. So from the driving agility, you do not miss these 2 cylinders at all. It's such an awesome vehicle. So if you want to save some money, stick with the 4-cylinder. Maybe taxation in your country is bad for the 6 cylinders or something. The Macan T is an excellent opportunity to spice up your 4-cylinder life here for the Macan. That's, I think, a great sweet spot. here in these situations, you know, when we were like braked in, you know, by some really narrow corners, then that 6-cylinder performance could help me a little bit more to get it up to the RPMs. That definitely. And of course, the sound is better with the 6-cylinders. So these are the two things you have to bear in mind. But other than that, I mean, this is easily the best sporty SUV in this segment. And I would say really by far. I mean, currently at home I have a BMW X3 M40i, which is an awesome vehicle, no doubt. And of course also with that 6-cylinder. But from the pure driving agility, how we can put this around in the corners. Seats are holding us tight as well, good shoulder support, and of course more breathable with these fabric inserts here. And the combination, you know, like seating, steering wheel here, the size and the directness, how smooth it feels. And I have such a great connection, driver, vehicle and road. Yeah, I mean, this is really as good as it gets for an SUV. If you might compare it to the Cayenne, for example, to the bigger brother, this one here, of course, sportier just because of the weight, of the size and so on. So the Macan is definitely more fun to steer around, especially here in these narrow corners. And this is here also pure Autogefühl. Look at that, here now S corners, lovely. And you might see the pictures on TV, and it's always something completely different when you're in that yourself. This is so awesome. Woo! What else we can do? We can here go to the EC Sport, PSM Sport, or yeah, in that case PSM Sport. There's, by the way, when I press and hold it, let's see, we can also completely turn it off. It's not recommended for public roads, so I also want to be responsible here. PSM Sport is kind of enough, and that actually draws back the stability control even more. And you should only use it when you really know the vehicle very well and you know what you're doing actually. So then of course you have to be even more careful. But in this case then, the effect that I'm being like drawn back by the brakes or something in the corners is a little bit reduced. However, here on dry road conditions doesn't make the biggest difference than here, since this car is very balanced anyway, and also that Sport Plus mode already takes back the stability control, all these electronic helpers. Wow, I'm really impressed. So when they said they want to make a 4-cylinder Macan unique, they definitely made that with that little exceptions here. But fun-wise, driving-wise, I mean, just for the pure driving agility, and the weight distribution, is that even better with the 6-cylinder than the 6-cylinder? That might even be the case. So I mean, 60 kilograms might not be like 120 pounds on the front axle less. That doesn't sound too much actually, but when you're in the more extreme conditions here, more on these winding corners, that can actually be some kind of a difference. And once again, I'm having so much fun here, and I can't remember, that I ever had so much fun in an SUV in so tight corners. SUVs can be sport, we know that. There are special sports versions by almost all manufacturers, by the way. And we have driven them on racetracks and also on sporty roads, but this is here, it's really, really narrow. I'm not sure if it's really transparent on camera. You can also see like some of the stuff there in the infotainment system. But that an SUV is fun in so tight corners, it has to be really good from the setup. Yeah, of course, and here now EC Sport doesn't make a big difference because I have to be careful, that I'm not too hard on the throttle. And the difference with the EC Sport would be rather than really when you push the throttle even further. Wow. That guy, respect, man. I mean, it's already tough to go up here by car. Yeah, that's a safe spot. Yeah, and even that, still got some power reserves from that 4-cylinder. Really nice. Wow, one more time, heads off guys. And we're getting higher and higher and higher, and does the engine feel, somehow weaker now? Maybe a little. Wow. What do you say, Michelle, as co-driver today? co-driver is very important in rally racing, you know. So you haven't given me any directions though. You know, like usually like 2 left lane and 1 right, and don't cut.
Well,
3 left, 3 right.
I guess this makes you the biggest legend who's ever driven on this track before. So, congratulations.
Thank you so much, Michelle. Thank you so much. Yeah. I mean, who was it? Was it also Colin McRae, who, like, you know, at one time said, like, you know, to be honest, I never listened to my co-driver ever. All the co-drivers in the scene were freaking out, like, how can he say that? No, of course, the co-drivers are really important.
Even similar to you, though.
Yeah, maybe Colin McRae and I are maybe, like, you know, I don't know, brothers at heart, I don't know. And yeah, totally sad story what happened to him, and yeah, God bless him, and we really wish he would be still racing out there. By the way, if you drive this car slowly, cruise control motorway, you can score some 9 liters on 1 kilometers, like 26 mpg US, 31 mpg UK. Sorry, I have to concentrate on driving as well, not only on a few economy figures. And here, you know, when we're driving up the hill here, then rather some 14, 15 liters on 1 kilometers. Of course, and way less than 20 mpg, both US and UK. So, and this is now, you know, some part where we drive kind of like through the forest, also some different scenery, a little bit faster, and the final stages will then be once again a little bit tighter. So here also really cool how the air suspension helps us, like also when there's some rollers or something, that is awesome. And that steering, it really feels like it would be transported over from the 780 models, you know, and that's why, just driving-wise, my favorite Porsche models are really the Macan and the 718 Boxster, because they drive so well balanced, and the other ones just feel bigger. The Cayenne will do some better long-term comfort and so on, but if you really want some more purist driving fun, yeah, and that's also where the T models, T stands for touring, by the way, not for Thomas. So there where the Porsche T models are really, you know, positioned for that touring aspect. So just like here, you know, you are on a nice tour, but you also want to drive it in a very sporty way and rather reduce it to the max, be a little bit more purist. And the Boxster T or the Cayman T is, to me, the more essential part of Porsche, not going always for the highest horsepower figure and for the biggest spec and so on. The PCCB, the ceramic brakes, are not available anymore for the Macan, by the way. Just mentioned the price difference earlier, just for, you know, curiosity. And now the corners get tighter once again, and we are so lucky that we have no one in front of us and not so many cyclists here today, because that can happen. So really a unique chance to drive up this road in such nice weather with such a clear track. And it's so great that you actually joined us for that and enjoyed this one here on tape as much as we do. Look also how the steering ratio really fits to that road. So when I'm in a 90-degree turn, I also turn the steering 90 degrees. That's really awesome. I love that. Really nice, progressive, smooth. Everything is in one flow, and that is something, you know, I usually only, you know, maybe achieve in mountain biking or something, or downhill mountain biking, what I also do. You have, you know, what I really feel at this moment is this so-called flow. And when you have like a favorite hobby or something, you might know what I'm talking about. You are in the moment, you're not thinking of anything else. All the problems you might have in this world are just gone, and you are in this flow. You are just in the moment. You're steering the vehicle, you're handling throttle, steering, well, clutch and shifting is done by the vehicle. However, I can also do it myself. Here with the shifting pedals, that might also be some fun idea. Then I maybe can keep it, for example, a gear lower. The sports mode is already keeping the gears lower, definitely, but here with the shifting myself, I can do that as well, and keeping the RPMs even a little bit higher. That brings me more agility. And here, when we have a little bit more open road, then also the ESC Sport mode has a bigger effect. The surface here is a little bit tougher now. You might also hear some rattling from the interior now because of our camera equipment, because so much rattling forces are then applied. Here now also the road gets a little bit, slippery because of the, some very small loose stones on there. Have to be careful for that. Always be ready. Wow. And we are getting closer and closer towards the peak. Second gear, third, maybe even fourth. Going back. Yeah, it's also so much fun to use the shifting pedals. It's small, but really precise, give you nice feedback. Oh my God. I mean, on camera, things look always slower than they really are because you do not feel the G-forces, and the camera angles are also sometimes deceiving. But I'm telling you, we were really, really fast here so far. Now it opens up. This has been, probably one of the coolest things here we've ever done in a sporty SUV. What a journey, what an experience. If you think about Porsche in general, you might first think about the sports cars and especially the 911. But if you think globally now in sales, Porsche is meanwhile rather an SUV brand, and the Porsche Macan is their worldwide bestseller. This one is a full review of the Porsche Macan facelift with a special focus here on the entry-level engine 2-liter 4-cylinder. Is that still a real Porsche? And how does it compare to the Macan S, the 3-liter 6-cylinder that AJ has recently driven for you with the facelift? We'll clear all those questions here, a detailed portrait in exterior, interior and the driving experience on the German Autobahn here today, also with some high speed here for this very engine to really test its performance. On Autogefühl in Full HD, full screen and full length. Let's go! In general, of course, the Macan has this sleek Porsche design here in the front, and indeed it is a Porsche SUV, like a put up 911. I think this is a very good example for a nice sleek SUV design. There's always the problem with designing SUVs because they're just higher, so they tend to look a little bit clumsier than lower cars, but I think they manage it here quite well. Just round design scheme here overall. 18 to 21 inch wheels are available. Those ones are the top wheels here. I'll talk about later about those ones here. As for the comfort, suspension wise, you get the base suspension, then you have the PASM 50mm lower suspension. We have that one here today, and then optional, also very rare in this segment here still, an air suspension. The Mercedes GLC has that, Audi Q5 also has that, and since Audi Q5, the old Audi Q5 by the way, and the Porsche Macan share the same platform, that is also being offered. Interesting that together to the white color here today, there's the contrasting black integrated ring right here that fits very well, and also we have black frames around the windows today. I think is a good contrast here to the white car overall. In the design, by the way, I really love those wheels, this spider style, like 90s BBS inspired. I really like it. What about you? Coming to the rear of the vehicle, you see the biggest difference from the exterior since the facelift, and that is this light strip that goes all over the vehicle now, corresponding also to their all-new models. And I think it fits the car very well and also stretches the width a little bit more. Other than that, still a very round design scheme. Those exhaust tips here, by the way, they are one piece. However, the rear exhaust is approximately that big. And then this whole outer part, of course, that's not where everything, the air comes out, but they made an effort to put it at least in one piece. That's always special here when you open the hood. The light stays down and then those gaps in top of the hood. Very interesting with the Macan. Today the 2-liter 4-cylinder engine, 6.5 seconds is the acceleration, 245 horsepower. With the sports chrono package, of course, this 100 kilometers or 62 miles an hour acceleration. Then there's also a 3-liter V6 in the Macan S with 354 horsepower, 5.4 seconds acceleration figure, so about a second faster. And then there's the new downsized 2.9 liter V6 turbo with 440 horsepower in the Macan Turbo. One design scheme is everything in Porsche was wrapped tightly. That's very beautiful. Horizontal stress, also nice build quality. You also have some decent space at the inside of the doors. This is of course a special color combination, white on the exterior, beige on the interior. In the US you see a lot of vehicles like those, also from different brands. In Europe, hardly. Maybe then in the south of Europe, but in the northern parts of Europe, really people don't like that. What's your take on that? I personally have to say I just like it because it is somehow, it's just bright and friendly and gives a little bit, of like Sun California style, something like that. So I like it. What about you? So interesting is, since the facelift, what changes do we have here? Well, it's mostly about the infotainment screen, but we'll soon take a detailed look at that from another perspective. So far, let's talk about the seats. They are base seats that then rather go like straight here and also in the left area. Those ones here are the adaptive sport seats that have a wider shoulder area right there and also bigger bolsters in this and also in the lower part. Besides that, as for the surfaces, as a standard Macan, both also in Europe and the US, the middle parts usually come with Alcantara and the outside then leatherette. And the great thing is you get them in black, in beige like here, but also in gray. Those three colors available, also with nice Alcantara. Those ones here are the optional animal skin seats, about over 6,000 euros extra. You can save those. And the Alcantara will also stay a little bit cooler in summer and warmer in winter times, so save the money, go for the base Alcantara seats. Steering wheel here again, last shot at that. You have already a lot of controls at the steering wheel, but they keep a little bit away from that as they here still use those columns here. But you might remember this old column here, this one here, it feels really weird when you shift that one like this here, like the resistance you feel here. It's a little bit weird and doesn't really resonate the rest build quality at Porsche. But the newer ones, the newer turning indicators in their all new models are now a little bit better. Welcome to this updated interior. Main element here, this new screen, 11-inch. That's the biggest news. Well, you have just a clearer view. Everything is bigger and wider and also easier to control. This one here is the GPS, for example, suit more details to that. Steering wheel right here again with just a few controls right there. The right side here, right thumb, to control the very small screen on the right side part here. Rather classic instrument with this analog dials. Well, the right one, of course, is then the screen. For example, also with all-wheel drive information, or also then the GPS map if the GPS is running. And on the left side, you have the volume control. Nice shifting pedals here too. You still have some hotkeys here for the infotainment screen and also the volume control here, so steering wheel and here. Then the lower console here, there are a lot of buttons still. Do you like that? Do you like it separated like this one here, or is it maybe too much? I like it these at the temperature control still menu. However, it's not that easy to control as you would just have a turning knob, but that one is still separated right here. When we drive, we also talk about those different driving modes. And this automatic gearbox here, quite high, this lever we've seen. They nowadays also in the all new cars put very, very small ones where you can almost shave with. Well, that's an insider, you get it when you watch the 911 review. And there are also adaptive cup holders right there. And then you have an armrest, by the way, shake test here, pretty well attached. And underneath you have two USB supplies, put your smartphone, and also below that some other clutter. Here again in detail, the all-wheel drive distribution, tire pressure, the consumption in detail, for example, but also when you have the ACC, the optional one, now also equipped with the autonomous emergency brake, if you pick that combination then for the distance settings, for example. And this is the new infotainment screen here with a nice CPU unit. You see here, pinch and zoom works pretty well. You also get somewhat like a feedback with the clicks. Phone either with Bluetooth or with Apple CarPlay, then with the cable connection, and then you can go right here. This is the integration. You can at the same time see the GPS because it has this wide screen, very interesting. But you can always go back here to this GPS here in this full view. Then you also have For example, here at the vehicle settings, you can change the light setting and so on, and also with some nice visualization. So overall, pretty nice to use, and I like to have some hotkeys still, especially they can easily access the GPS again. And the sound system, by the way, is also pretty powerful. It's the optional Bose sound system we have here. Let's get inside here, and it is an SUV, mid-size SUV, and therefore you also have some decent upright seating position. However, I always raise the back part of the seat a little bit higher, so this would be the lowest position. And one is 86 or 6'1", still leaves plenty of headroom. If you go for the optional panoramic roof, you will have a little bit less headroom, but you see, it will still also work for tall people. So I put the back part of the seat always a little bit more upright, so the seating position is a little bit more upright, you have better overview and also more long-term comfort. Those base seats, I would rather give those the first try, because not only because of the surface, but also the more open form. It's of course a matter of taste, but especially if you're a little bit taller in general, maybe also a little bit wider, those base seats will give you a little bit more space to move around. Those sport seats here are definitely narrower right here, although I already have those bolsters in the most open position. You can even close them a little bit more. However, if you're rather small and need this support, then this seat form might then be better. Again, steering wheel has a good size. You can adjust it here in an electric way, also in reach. Takes some while, but overall does the job. There's also a heated steering wheel available. This is an option. I will also tell you more about prices very soon. Yeah, pricing is something really to discuss with this vehicle. Well, if AJ and I test the very same vehicles, always take into account that AJ is a little bit smaller, so that's more helpful if you are also maybe rather his size, and if you're rather my size, then it's better for you to watch my review too, or maybe just compare those, because AJ was quite fine here in the rear, but I'm actually not, so the package of this vehicle is not the best. Yes, it's shorter than the Cayenne, but then again, for the length of this vehicle, it does not offer so much rear legroom. That's rather disappointing. So I do hit the seat here with my knees, and I'm in the driving position I would be driving indeed. Headroom-wise, that's no problem. And I really love this beautiful Alcantara ceiling. Then there's also some USB supplies here, 2 USB supplies in the rear, next to, if you want, additional climate zone. Isofix at the outer parts of the seats. And there's also an armrest with cup holders right there. And you can even use this one here as a ski hatch. It's always a little bit funny because you open the Macan trunk right here at the wiper. And then as for the measurements, here you can have about just under 1 meter in length and just about 1 meter in width. That's totally okay. And in height right there at this cover, about 50 centimeters, of course a little bit less in the front area. Liter figures here is 500 liters like this, and 1,500 liters if I flip the seats. Here you can see also this cabin trolley can be put in a vertical way. So you're actually just fine with this luggage compartment, I think. And if I flip those seats, here we go. 1/3 2/3 split, but as I've shown you just earlier, you can also just flip the middle part as a ski hatch. That's possible. And then we'll come to the maximum setup. You have to go around and do it from the rear. It's not possible, like from the rear compartment, not possible to do it directly from the trunk. And then here we go with the maximum setup. Oh, and then there's also a 12-volt power box right there and power outlet, maybe for like your mobile cooling box or something. Blind spot monitor here, you can see it very well, one of the assistance system features. And welcome to Thomas's driving lounge here with the Porsche Macan. Today the special with the facelift, of course, and also the 2-liter 4-cylinder. As I said earlier, AJ recently had the 3-liter 6-cylinder in the Macan S. So we start with some city driving right here, and then we head over to the motorway and also to a part where we can really let this car fly and see what about this performance. Is it still a Porsche performance-wise? How does it feel? So how does the Macan perform here in city driving? Well, the one advantage is if you compare it to a Cayenne, or if you decide between a Macan or a Cayenne, the Macan is just smaller, so you feel a little bit more eased inside the city, easier with parking spots and so on, and just also when the streets are a little bit narrower. It has a great handling, so you have a direct response from the steering wheel, a very natural steering feeling. It sits very well on the road, feels pretty light and agile, and it indeed even feels a little bit smaller than it actually is. As assistance systems, you get also the adaptive cruise control, for example. It's also equipped with this very vehicle, so at the moment you just need to set it in and keep steering, and accelerating and braking is done with the car then. So if you want to increase the speed, then push this extra lever forward or hold it a little bit longer to go in 10 kilometer steps upward and downward. Probably miles, they make it 5 steps, or like 5 miles steps. Do you know that? Do you have a Macan yourself, or maybe a Cayenne with that cruise control? Then please tell me in the comments. And the interesting thing is that now with the facelift, they include the autonomous emergency brake, so the so-called city emergency brake, into the ACC. It's still not standard equipment. That's really a shame for such an expensive vehicle. But at least they included it in the ACC. Before that, the Macan did not have that. Pretty interesting. They were arguing that they don't want to intervene with the customer, So, yeah, but I think, as for safety, this is absolutely a good decision to have this one from standard equipment. Everyone might be not really paying that much attention at some point, for what reason whatsoever. So this is really a very important system. And having a lot of fun already driving the Macan here in the city, as it's so agile. It always, when you approach the next lane change or something, situations like those, you're always happy for the next lane change, for some steering action. That's just a lot of fun. I really like that. And again, the size, this mid-size SUV, is a really good one, because mid-size SUV, you can still use it for almost everything. You can get along in the city. It already has a decent comfort. It's not too big, so they're actually a good compromise where you can do a lot of things with just that very one vehicle. This one here is equipped with 21-inch, the maximum wheel size, and also with the PASM, the Porsche Active Suspension Management. This was an old Cayenne, by the way. So there's a standard suspension, then there's the optional PASM, the adaptive suspension, but it's also 50 millimeters lower. And then another option is the air suspension. Well, I would go for the air suspension, especially if I would lease the vehicle and not maybe keep it for 15 years or so. Might get very expensive to repair an air suspension. You always have to keep that in mind when it's, when it's broken after a couple of years or something. I don't know how long it takes, but we also have a lot of customer experience. We really say, there was a really high repair cost when they were repairing the air suspension and so on. So if you keep the car for 10 or 15 years, you might take it into account. However, then also the car is really expensive, and if you want the best comfort, the air suspension will do best, yes, and then you might as well spend the extra money on that. So where an air suspension is available, I think usually it's also good to go for it. With BMW, it's not that necessary, because their normal adaptive suspension are really that superb that they also have a lot of comfort, even if you didn't pick the extra air suspension. Here, you definitely have more comfort when you have the air suspension, no doubt. And well, together with this 21-inch wheels, the suspension is indeed quite stiff. This car will still be sporty if you have the air suspension, or if you go for the base suspension, or if you go with a PASM and pick 19-inch wheels. It will still feel very sporty, just not that rough, Sometimes people mistake a rough driving characteristic for not, for being sporty. So the car's not necessarily sporty when it's just rough, The suspension is actually quite nice, but you feel that the wheels are just too big for those very small stuff that you face on the road, smaller bumps and so on. So, yeah, if you want it a little bit stiff and rough, then that might be something for you. But again, I think you lose too much comfort with this very setup you have here. On the motorway, also a very calm experience. I mean, the noise installation is also really good, so I hardly need to raise my voice at all. That's pretty cool. So also a good motorway cruiser, and again, I can set the cruise control and everything is just fine. I will also show you the blind spot monitor when someone is overtaking us. So far no one is coming, but that will come soon. And you will see there's yellow light flashing right there. I was keeping it with rather low speed at the moment. The all-wheel drive distribution is always more in the rear than in the front. At the moment, just a little bit in the front. When I really hammer the throttle, then you will see that the all-wheel drive is also transporting more torque to the front wheels. So the rear wheel bias here for the all-wheel drive is somewhat guaranteed. Consumption is just close to 9 liters on 100 kilometers. That has remained the same also for this engine. It's also a quite realistic figure. Think about this engine here in the Golf, for example, 2-liter 4-cylinder engine. We also end up with about 8. We can also drive it at 7. But this one's a little bit heavier. This one is an SUV. So something close to 9 is realistic. If you keep it slow, you can of course exceed it. That would be some 29 mpg US or 31 mpg in the UK, something in that region. Now when we're going uphill, it's of course also a little bit more. And we soon now get to our high-speed part. Before that, someone will he overtake us? Come on, show our viewers. There it is. Thank you. Thanks. So that was the blind spot monitor. Also a very important safety feature. You should definitely go for that. And yeah, sadly, Porsche makes you pay extra for almost everything. Now we'll also go to the sports mode. The sports mode will turn up the RPMs a little bit higher. Will give us a little bit more sound, and also changed not only the shifting characteristics, also the throttle input, for example. And we'll get that now on the motorway part where we can really accelerate it out and see, is this still, performance-wise, a real Porsche? So we'll let this, now we go for fun of this car. 50 kilometers to whatever. That's 150. So that was 50 to 150. And directly some comments to high-speed driving. Now we're about 160. And see, it's not too loud here. So that's still somewhat reasonable. So I'm fine with that. And the car also remains very stable. In the sports mode, also the suspension, when you have the adaptive suspension, or also the air suspension, which is also an adaptive one, then also the suspension goes a little bit stiffer to have a little bit more control over the car. So really feels very good at high speeds. Of course, that's something what a Porsche also stands for. It's like nothing driving this car here at higher speeds. And you need to know seating position and how everything is processed and so on. And also, for example, here, the brakes. Pretty crisp also when you hammer them. That definitely feels like a Porsche. So if you go for this base Macan with the 4-cylinder engine, you shouldn't miss too much. You've seen the acceleration was quite decent. Yeah, with a 6-cylinder it would have been a little bit more spectacular, no doubt about that. 6.5 seconds is the acceleration figure to 100 kilometers or 62 miles an hour, and that's just about 1 second in difference then if you compare it to the Macan S. So not too big of a difference. It's more a little bit of philosophy, and there are people who care really a lot about it, and then there are people who don't care at all. I mentioned earlier, Chinese market, very big for the 2-liter Macan here, and a lot of the customers there, they don't really care about the engine in there. They rather care about other luxury features of the vehicle, but not necessarily about the engine. And in the US, for example, especially very important that you still have a lot of displacement. So it really depends on the market. And I mean, me personally, I really like to drive high displacement, naturally aspirated petrol engine, and it had nothing to do with higher or lower consumption, because those small turbo engines here, they consume sometimes even more than those older, big naturally aspirated engines. It's just on paper that they maybe consume less, but effectively for the customer, it's not really making sense in most cases, at least. So, you know, when you have more displacement, you get a little bit more calm serenity or something, but here you have enough performance, so it's not really lacking power. It's just you don't have like this very sonorous sound. Maybe again, you know, I always talk about like the sovereignty of a car. It's more like the, you know, how much confidence it gives you, and that's sometimes with those bigger engines a little bit more. You know, you feel a little bit more relaxed, although you have, or maybe because you have more power just from the throttle input. Then again, the power here is always there. You know, there's not such a big turbo lag or something, especially if you're in sport mode. You've seen it on our acceleration, it was right there, you know, and also here when I'm doing some accelerations out of the corners. You know, especially here in this combination with the smaller engine and the dual clutch transmission, can you feel is that if you have, for example, the bigger engine and then also a converter automatic gearbox, I have the feeling that here the car shifts a little bit faster, you know. Always has to do with the power curve and so on. So yeah, if you are an experienced car driver and have driven different engines, then you would notice the difference. But if you know, maybe not that well experienced with vehicles and you go into this car and leave the sound aside, and who could really tell how much cylinder this car has, you know? So again, power-wise, they have nothing to miss. Yes, I think we can agree that bigger petrol engines are maybe a little bit more fun or a little bit more pleasing, that's for sure. But then again, if you think about the extra price you pay for that and what you already get with this engine, then of course you might start to think about it. You know, initially taught you something about the prices, 50K in the US, $50K without VAT, then including VAT about 60K euros in Germany, and then you can easily top this car up to about 90 when you have the high spec or the turbo. And then I was really shocked as I was reading the extra price list from this vehicle, and this vehicle here as we were driving at the moment is 80K in euros. Wow. Although it's a small engine. For example, this optional animal skin equipment here, together with those 21-inch wheels, is almost 10K. So other people buy a car for 10,000, be it a new or a used one, and here the alloys plus the animal leather equipment on the seat cost the same. That's ridiculous. That's seriously ridiculous. So that's also one of my biggest criticism points. This car is just too expensive. However, as we're on the driving part, I'm really to say it drives astonishingly well, gives you a great feeling. It can combine sportiness and luxury, and is somewhat, a better compromise than the Cayenne. You know, if you are in the US and you have a lot of space, big parking lots, and you don't like, West Coast or Central or something, then the Cayenne isn't such a disadvantage in comparison to the Macan. However, the Macan can maybe deliver a little bit more driving fun because it's way lighter, and that might be an argument for you. So always have to think about pros and cons and also compare our reviews. So now when we're already at a little bit higher speed, we're still in the sports mode, we can even put the suspension stiffer with a separate button ourselves, by the way, it's also possible. So sports mode again, see also the car shifts down itself. I can also do it on the shifting pedals, for example, go to the fourth or even the third gear, and then from 100 kilometers or 60 miles an hour, give it another go. Plop, and that's again 150 in kilometers. Really fun to use the shifting pedals here. A lot of quality there too. And again, rather calm feeling, although at higher speeds. The ACC also works at those high speeds, it's no problem by the way. And it's also very reliable overall. So, yes, it's a real Porsche. from the driving feeling, has enough power. You do feel somewhat as an experienced driver that 2 cylinders are missing somewhat. I think you can also easily live with that. But I think it only makes sense if you keep the extras, the other extras, a little bit lower, that you can still achieve a realistic entry price and not a price like this very test vehicle here. So what do you think about the Porsche Macan here in driving and about this small Porsche engine question? And now to our conclusion for today with the Porsche Macan here in the recent facelift and also the 2-liter 4-cylinder engine. Exterior-wise, one of the sleekest SUVs in this mid-size SUV segment, so to me still a beauty. The facelift changes, it's matter of taste, maybe a little bit more elegant here with these new daytime running lights. I mean, why not, but not the biggest change. The big change is really on the interior with this new infotainment system. I think that's good, especially the CarPlay integration is a little bit better than before. And also, you just have, the wider screen can do more things. Still a lot of buttons left there too. Great build quality also in the interior. You also get some nice Alcantara seats, even just as a base trim. And you can also save some money. And that would also be my tip because, well, this engine here, yes, it's still a real Porsche performance-wise. Of course, you don't have the same, one-to-one, same performance as with the bigger engine. And also maybe the bigger engine gives you a little bit more confidence on the road and maybe a little bit more sound. But still, if you just ask about the performance, that's just it. My tip here again, don't go for such big wheels here or pick the air suspension also. That's a very good feature. Other than that, you really have to pay attention the car does not get too expensive because, well, if you stick rather to the base price, then it might make sense also to keep with the base engine. But then again, if you spec a car like this and make it so expensive, then it's the question if you can also top up with the next engine. So of course, I want to hear your opinion here on the Porsche Macan with a facelift, and also the question 2-liter versus 3-liter and also 4-cylinder versus 6-cylinder. Have you already found your favorite? Which one would you pick? And which one would I actually go for? So I feel that the GTS versions, they're always very sporty, fun in driving, stiffer and so on. However, they also reduce the noise comfort, the noise insulation at higher speeds, especially on the German Autobahn. So for me, it wouldn't be the first pick because I also like to drive quick or fast on the German Autobahn, but then I want to have the performance, yet at the same time I also want good noise comfort, and the GTS versions just do not deliver that. However, they have these nice microfiber interiors. There are, of course, horsepower-wise, more powerful versions available for the Cayenne, like the Cayenne Turbo or also the Turbo GT, which you can still get as a pure combustion engine in the United States, for example. Surely a niche model, also super expensive. The other models here, like the Turbo in the EU, is then an electrified one, like a plug-in hybrid, and the Macan Turbo, fully electric. The thing is that here, I think the ride is kinda stiff and it's also extremely expensive for what it offers. However, at this moment, if you want to go electric, and of course the Macan EV is way to go, the Cayenne EV will also follow pretty soon. We will also keep you updated there on our channel. The Cayenne S is also interesting because it now also gets the 8-cylinder, so you don't necessarily have to go for GTS to get the 8-cylinder in the Cayenne. And the Macan S still delivers this typical Macan 6-cylinder feeling, whereas it doesn't have the disadvantage of the reduced noise insulation like the Macan GTS has. The Macan T was a surprising ride because, well, we all like the 6-cylinder, yes. However, the Macan T, a little bit lower in weight and shows a great handling characteristic. And of course, in the Cayenne S review, we also had the base Cayenne in there with the 6-cylinder, and I ultimately feel that this is also the best pick for today. The 6-cylinder in the Cayenne is already more than enough power-wise, and since the Macan in general is also extremely expensive for the size and for the space it is offering, I feel that a base Cayenne will do best in the price-performance ratio. On the Northern American market, you can even get it with the standard leatherette seats, for example, and also the seats are number 3, that's also fine. Not available in the EU, sadly though. So I feel you just get more car when you're going for the Cayenne in comparison to the Macan T. However, if you want something slightly smaller, then I feel that the Macan T is actually a nice choice. Yes, you don't have a 6-cylinder, but it's a very agile vehicle, and also in the price dimension it's still more realistic. But overall, I would go with a base Cayenne that the price is not like exceeding too much. Enjoy the comfort, yet the sportiness that the Cayenne is delivering, and also the comfort plus in comparison and the space plus in comparison to the Macan. What do you think? Tell me your opinion in the comments. Which Porsche SUV would you actually pick? And join us for more comparison episodes.